Check, check. Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Do you read
Hello.
me? I read you.
I I can't see anything written on you.
Ah, classic mistake.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, you can't see my bottom half. That's where all the writing
Good,
is.
good.
How you feeling? You tired?
Yeah.
More than
Why?
usual or less than usual? We're about the same.
Uh, I guess less than usual. I didn't fall asleep driving today,
No, nice.
so that's
I
an
didn't
improvement.
cancel, so that's my energy level because I'm always tired.
Yeah, I am too.
And at about 10 a.m. this morning when I started work, I was like, I gotta do a podcast after work. I'm tired, but I'm here. I made it.
Oh, good. Same. I've been working 12 plus hour days all week, and I've learned that's just gonna be the norm for this new position. Like, I have to
Brutal.
get there hours before we open, I have to stay hours after we close, and I have to be there the whole time that we're open. But, so tired
Hold
is a
on.
thing.
Hold on.
No.
There we go. How do I sound now? Do I sound different?
You sound
Do I sound
better.
better? Yeah, okay. For some reason the microphone was going through the webcam.
Oh, weird. How do I sound?
You sound normal. Good
Okay.
volume.
Okay,
Good
good.
all around. It's just because I didn't know this webcam had a microphone
Oh,
function.
wait, do we have the same
We have the
webcam?
same webcam, the same low
Really?
G.
Okay, I didn't know it had a microphone either.
Yeah.
Oh well.
It's just weird because like I got this new monitor.
I guess it makes
Um,
sense that it has a microphone though. Oh, but go on. You got a
yeah,
new
right.
monitor?
Yeah, I picked up because I when I upgraded my PC setup, I got this big old 34-inch wide like curved monitor like I've been talking about for years.
Mm-hmm.
And then I quickly realized that even though this is an ultra wide 30-inch monitor, it's still I still sacrifice some screen real estate from my two 27-inch monitors that I was using before. But I was so done with those hulking bastards that I wasn't about to set up one of them again. But the same company that makes this monitor, they have like a business line of things and surprisingly cheap monitors.
Mm-hmm.
And so I picked up a 24-inch that has the ability to go vertical, like portrait style. And so
Mm-hmm.
now I have that on my left to do all my email and file browsing and shit like that while I'm working, and was able to give myself some extra space, and it's been lovely. And
Mm.
now I have an addiction, unfortunately, to wanting to buy more screens. Like I want to have like way more screens than necessary.
Hmm.
Just have it be ridiculous and just clamp them to my desk and screw them to the walls and just have like a Mission Impossible operations center.
Uh-huh.
It'd be wild.
Yeah, that would be cool. But then you'd have to like advise superheroes.
Yeah,
They'd be
right.
calling you. You'd have to Google shit for superheroes. There's that character in the comics usually.
There usually is. That is correct. Here, let me see. Let's see, does this work? Sent it through
Whoa.
messenger.
Oh wait, why did you send me? Oh, a picture. Oh, okay, that's cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so it's perfect for document reading because I read a lot, and so like having it landscape like that or a portrait like that, it makes it really intuitive for scrolling through things. Whereas you see on the right screen, the landscape one, that used to have to do everything that is now going on the left side at the same time. And so it was a bit much. My CAD
Hmm.
window was very small. My actual place where I make my creations was a little smaller than I'd prefer. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, not bad for it was $90. It's not terrible for a it's
That's
a lot
not bad.
bigger than I thought it would be.
Uh-huh.
I was expecting like a little bit bigger than an iPad. I don't know what I was expecting with a 24-inch monitor. So it is kind of a
Mhm.
massive vertical monitor, but it's pretty chill. Now it looks like shit. Like you definitely
Mm.
wouldn't want to be like watching YouTube or anything on this monitor
Oh,
on the
right.
left. I mean that's sort of its purpose. It's a $90 monitor. It's not Ultra HD 4K or anything like that. It's like
Hmm.
1080p at best. But yeah, anyway, we're doing
Cool, cool,
storytellers,
cool.
correct?
Correct.
And what is the idea behind this? Is this just going to be us gushing over our favorite storytellers, or is this more of a comprehensive look into storytelling over the ages?
It's more of the former, like the at least the way I thought about it, but I mean it could go either way. I mean, we're just calling
Gotcha.
it storytellers. Like the way I was thinking about it was kind of like talking about the storytellers who have impacted us um in our lives, like
Like George
oh,
Lucas.
that could be one. Yeah. Um like if George Lucas has impacted your life, like um in whatever way, just kind of the power of storytelling is sort of the emphasis in my mind. But again, storytellers. We can take that any direction we want to, but that was kind of my thinking on it, was just kind of the power of storytelling and how various stories actually can deeply affect people's lives.
Gotcha. Because I've been tossing around some things in my head all day, but I wanted to make sure to lock in what we're what the primary focus is.
Hmm.
On a side note, man, you went on a tirade the other day with the Facebook stuff.
Yeah, that was my
I was
response,
I was like,
live to listening to the goddamn president's goddamn State of the Union.
God damn. I was like, oh, Glenn's pissed. Glenn's
Yeah.
about to, what do the kids say nowadays? Glenn's about to crash out.
I've not heard
It,
that term. What does it mean?
it basically means you're about to go psycho. Like you're
Oh
about to
yeah, no, true.
like
I'm about to go
have you
full Luigi.
have you ever seen that picture of Daniel Radcliffe from that one movie he was in?
Which one movie?
Let me see. I don't know I don't know the movie,
Uh-huh.
but there's a particular image. Um, let me see. Copy image, and then open your chat, and then paste image. Technology is cool when it works.
True. Me AF. I should literally change that to my new profile
That's
picture.
and then put like the Democrats like ring around it, like a
Yes.
background. But yeah, that's like
Mhm.
the physical embodiment of what people mean when they say you're about to crash out.
Okay, I'll agree with that. I was incredibly pissed, and I remain pissed. Fired up is maybe
Fired up. Yeah.
like I'm just done with this shit. Like, what did I do? I watched his meeting with Zelensky, which was,
Tragic.
I have
A,
no
a
words for,
tragedy.
yeah, it was just god awful,
Flag should have flown at half
embarrassing,
staff after that.
horrible. Yeah. And then that was followed by, I watched Justin Trudeau's speech responding to the tariffs that got dropped on Tuesday, where he basically made it abundantly clear that on the global stage, the United States of America is now a bad guy, a villain, the enemy. He didn't use such strong language, but he kept pointing out that, the United States has decided to wage a trade war with us for absolutely no reason. He laid out everything he did to try to work with Trump on Trump's alleged issues. Like he just, pointed out reality. And then, he didn't point it out that, Trump he wants to wage trade wars with their former allies and um, ally himself with dictators and oligarchs like Putin. Like it's clear to the world that we are allied with Russia now.
Yeah.
And that was horrifying. And then follow that with his, again, I don't have words for that State of the Union address.
The damn
That's
transgender
why I went,
frogs.
God damn, mice.
Yeah, that's right.
It's
Transgender
not
mice. Gay
true.
frogs,
Like
trans
it's
mice.
it's trans something
Transgenic
else, mu
trans uh
but it's genetic research. It's not giving them sex changes.
yeah, no,
It's a
it's
whole other word. What?
transgenial.
Okay. Yeah.
Transgenial.
Yeah. And like,
I
oh,
was like
and so,
transgenital. I was like, no, that's still transgender.
right, right. But it became abundantly clear to me that we're here. We're at this moment in history now. Like, it's time to say something or be complicit. It's say something or be permissive. It's time to say which side of history you're on, because we're there. I don't know what's gonna happen, but I'm not going to have anyone doubt what side of things I'm on as an American in Nazi Germany. That's why, and I just had a back and forth with one of my cousins who was going through all
I
of said
that
posts.
yeah, no, that just came across my feed. That's why I mentioned it before we got
Oh,
started here
oh,
because
please read my replies.
I saw like Larry or something was his name or something.
Craig.
Craig, worse.
Yeah.
Uh, and now I'm looking at Amanda's post from 34 minutes ago.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna look at that one too. It popped up as I was getting ready to do this.
Same. Relating to the criminal offense of gender identity fraud being enacted by the legislature of the state of Texas. Oh, this is a Texas thing. Section 1, Subchapter
Great.
D, Chapter 32, Penal Code is amended by adding Section 32.5.515 to read as follows. Gender identity fraud Article A person commits an offense if the person knowingly makes a false or misleading verbal or written statement to a governmental entity or the person's employer by identifying the person's biological sex as the opposite of the biological sex assigned to the person at birth. An offense under this section is a state jail felony.
God damn it. Nazi fucking Germany.
Uh,
Transgender people are only 2% of the population. Oh, it makes me mad that they're targeting people. They're vulnerable people. They're vulnerable to suicide. They're marginalized. They're not hurting anyone. Oh,
insane.
pissed. Pissed off.
Did you hear about Mangione's sex tapes?
No, where can I see him?
That's what everybody's asking. Apparently, he filmed and starred in over 20 cinematic style shot pornos.
Oh, nice. Why is Pornhub illegal? I'm sure it's.
I gotta get that VPN, man. No, they're on like film,
Oh, wow. Wow, classy.
allegedly. Yeah. I hope they're all like that awesome shot of where it's just like missionary from the back. So where it's just
Hell
dude
yeah, just
asshole cock and
balls.
balls. Yeah. It's
Yeah, that
just
would be nice. Ooh. Hmm.
and they're just the most handsomely groomed balls you'll ever see.
Right, right. That's
And
what I
they
hope as well.
and he's got like fuck the free world tattooed on his ass.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, no.
Great. We need to reschedule our Mangione episode as
Right.
well because we didn't do that, but it's that also needs to be done like because we're there.
Yeah.
That's a part of where we are, is what's going on with Luigi Mangione.
Apparently another healthcare CEO's house was shot up. I didn't read too much of the details, but apparently it's not the best story because whoever the shooter was probably didn't do enough research on who they were shooting up. It's like a
Oh,
non-profit.
Oh, God damn it.
Like a
See, and
nonprofit
that's
insurance company where they like it's literally like a crowd fund and like you pay in and you get out what you pay in and like nowhere near I mean I'm sure there's shady shit. Like I said, I didn't read enough about it, but he's still at large.
Mhm.
I'm sure that they just need to check the local McDonald's.
Oh, right, right. That's where they go.
Yeah.
They go to McDonald's to rage against the machine.
Dude, it's so I mean this is Hitler Takeover 101. Like this is the Hitler playbook that we're seeing. This is the Nazi Germany playbook that we're
Yeah,
seeing.
and it's intentional.
Collapse the economy and make us all completely dependent, cut us off from our international allies, villainize marginalized groups,
Hmm.
then lead us into the so-called golden age.
Right. Of atrocities and white supremacy. You know, God damn it. That's why I'm speaking out. I'm not going to be quiet anywhere about this shit. I mean, I want to be loud to the point they eventually come for me if they don't get dealt with.
Like that
Not that I'll
dude
go
in
quietly, but I cannot sit back and just watch this shit permissively. Like, like, and then like talking about marginalizing people, like vulnerable minority groups. Like when he said in his speech, he's like, woke is over. There's no more woke. That's when I tested. I posted Pinch's self, still woke, which my cousin, of course, had a problem with. I don't know.
God damn, it's just so
God damn it! It's because like well, I don't know. I'm not going to repeat myself if you read that particular post when I was talking about what woke means and what Trump actually just said.
yeah, no, I read it.
Yeah, I mean,
It's just
it's like, God damn it. He's telling you that caring about people is bad. Basically, being aware is
yeah, no,
bad.
and
Close your eyes, folks. Go to
yeah,
sleep and let us
well,
drive.
stay
Drive
ignorant,
straight
stay
to hell.
uneducated,
Yeah,
and stay asleep. You're easier to control when you're asleep.
exactly.
And
Exactly. That's one of
apparently,
those.
uh, apparently Elon was supposed to go on with Jon Stewart of The Daily
Oh
Show.
yeah, and chickened out because he demanded it be unedited, thinking that was his gotcha. And Jon Stewart was
It was like,
like, "Okay,
well, it'll
let's
be
do it."
unedited. Yeah, let's
Yeah,
go. I love Jon
and of
Stewart.
course I do too. Of course, chickened out. Yeah, well,
And
Elon Musk just said some shit about empathy being like the problem with the world. Like, I don't remember the exact quote. He says a lot of shit. He's
yeah, fucking daddy's boy. We got two daddy's boys running
Yeah,
the
yeah,
country.
for
Two quote
real.
unquote self-made men that both
Right.
received massive amounts of money from their parents.
Yeah, and two self-proclaimed geniuses. Like Elon Musk didn't invent any of
No.
this shit. He
He's stolen
pays
valor.
people to do it. Yeah, he's not a genius. He has he pays geniuses to
Yeah,
make him
small
money.
modicums. Yeah. He's
Hmm.
just trying to become the world's first trillionaire. That's
No,
all Elon's
exactly.
doing.
And
That is
that's why he
all he is
wants to
doing.
get to space. He wants to be the first one to get to the asteroid belt because the
No, and if
first one to the asteroid
he
belt
wants to
is
tank
the
our
first
economy so he
trillionaire.
can buy up all the stocks when they're down low. Then he
Mm-hmm.
can actually
Mm-hmm.
focus on fixing the economy, and then he is the first trillionaire.
Right,
And
exactly.
it just sets the stage for the kings of our realm to hold on to power indefinitely. And
Yeah. Yeah.
not that
And
I mean it's good to know that Elon's line ends here since none of his 12 children give a fuck about him and won't
yeah,
take his money.
good.
Like at least the ones that are adults. He's got like four children under the age of like 5.
Mm-hmm.
And God, what a shit show.
Yeah.
What a shit
Yeah.
show.
Yeah. Ugh.
Anyway, let's talk
Pissed
about
off.
storytellers.
All right.
Like George Orwell.
Oh, God damn it.
Let's leave that part in. That'll be our opener. Just 15 minutes of solid bitching about our country and
Right.
then segue right into storytellers.
I don't know. It works for me. It might actually be what we do. We'll find out. We'll find out. Editor Glenn will know.
Yeah, this is just like whenever the Supreme Court reversed Roe v. Wade, and like
Hmm.
we were supposed to be
Oh
talking about
yeah.
something that night, and it just devolved into us talking about that. I
Right.
think it was relevant, but it ended up becoming the subject.
Yeah. Yeah, it became very focused on abortion rights or whatever, like, but it was relevant to the topic. Um, but yeah, so this is Autodidactica. This is
This is
let's just
Autodidactica.
go with it. Yes. This is what we do. We talk about stuff. Tonight's topic is storytellers. So, do we leave in the part where we were talking about
Yeah,
like
let's do it. I'm Matt,
what
he's Glenn, and
right. So, and we've already told you what the
this
basic focus of this episode is.
if you see some people in black face masks bust down our doors,
Hmm.
and bag and drag us, just know that you can watch all of our episodes up to now, assuming they're still up. If
Right,
not, you'll have to go
right,
through Glenn's hard drive and
right.
find
Which
the
I'll be on the
unedited
run with.
footage, um,
Yeah, yeah, which is
which is the stuff we would
interesting.
get bag and dragged for.
Oh yeah, by our
Um,
friends and family, no less.
yes,
But
but
no,
yeah, some real V for Vendetta shit going on around here.
right, right.
Remember the
It's
5th of
healthy.
November.
Yeah, it's
Um,
a healthy thing. That movie,
so
speaking of
relevant.
storytellers, I mean, that
Yes, speaking of
movie
storytellers, that's a great one.
is so powerful and so horrifying. Like the more we get into this Nazi America bullshit, like I remember the first Trump administration and thinking about V for Vendetta because it's where he clearly wanted to go,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, no, I mean it's so relevant to today. They had a tantrum throwing
Hmm.
chancellor
Hmm.
who controlled the media through outburst content and
Right.
rapid fire outburst content.
Hmm.
And we're rapidly approaching that reality of concentration camps. It was such a strong, like
Yeah.
when it came out, I was 10. So I
Hmm.
watched
Hmm.
it thinking it was a cool action movie. Like people were like, "Oh, if you like
Right.
The Matrix, you'll like this," which I also didn't understand The Matrix back then, but it had cool action. V for Vendetta, a lot less cool action and a lot deeper, or I don't know, just very deep central themes that a
Hmm.
10-year-old cannot readily comprehend,
Right.
unless
Right.
you're maybe, I don't know, Steve Hawking or something.
Right.
I was not Steve Hawking. Um,
And I don't know if he could comprehend politics. I know he could
yeah,
contemplate physics.
yeah, two totally different things. If you're
Right.
going to study something with a P, those are two of the three things. The other one
Right.
being, anatomy. But um, yeah, no, I mean, V for Vendetta, amazing. I should probably look into that director's slash writer's other works
Hmm.
because I can't
I'm
imagine
not
that they did that one
right.
and are just
I'm not
done with all
sure.
social commentary creations.
Right. And I'm not sure who wrote that. It was a comic book, I
Yeah,
think.
DC
A
Vertigo
graphic novel.
Comics,
Right.
uh, limited
Good
series,
brand.
really,
Yeah.
our resident comic book expert. Yeah, no, I mean, I didn't know that was Hugo Weaving.
Oh,
He's V. I mean, he wears a mask the whole
yeah.
time.
Right.
But yeah, film set in a future where a fascist totalitarian regime has
Hmm.
subjugated the UK.
Uh-huh.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Right?
James Mick, I don't know how to say it. Teigue. No idea.
Yeah, I
Um,
don't either.
he also assistant director on many films, including Dark City, 1998, Matrix trilogy. Okay, there we go.
Oh,
And
interesting.
Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones.
Huh.
So he was helping out
Interesting resume.
George Lucas
Hell yeah.
on Attack of the Clones set.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's cool. That's pretty darn cool. You know, though, like, I mean, talking about, what we were talking about made me actually think of one of the stories I was thinking about. I think about this story a lot. Like I've talked to you about it off camera. The Never-Ending Story by the novel by Mike Mikhail Ende. I always try to pronounce his name correctly. It's very German, I think.
hmm.
Um, because it looks like Michael End, but it to me,
Oh,
but
and
it's
Ende.
Yeah, it's Mikhail Ende.
Hmm.
Ende. I like it. But there was just a line in the Neverending Story, like there was this monster who like the nothing was this kind of a plague of just loss that was covering the entire fantasy realm in that story. And there was this wolf-like creature that was the servant of the nothing called the Gmork. And like he confronts the hero at one point. Like he's hunting the guy who's trying to stop the nothing through the whole thing. Well, the first half of the novel and the whole movie. The movie's just the first half of the novel. Um, but like they finally cross paths and like the hero Atreyu is like, why are you helping the nothing? People have died. He's like, my horse died. Like, this thing is tearing the world up, erasing everything of value, Like, he's like, why are you helping it? Because, he admitted to Atreyu, because they're at the end. Like, almost everything is destroyed. As far as they know, they're the last two living things in this fantasy world. And like the Gmork's answer to why he's helping the nothing is because, it's making everyone feel hopeless. And people who are without hope are easier to control. And that line sticks with me when I'm watching all this bullshit that's going on in the world right now. I'm just thinking people without hope are easier to control. Like,
Absolutely.
mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what's happening all around us. I mean, the rapid fire. I'm trying not to just go down a rabbit hole here, given the state of the world. But I mean, that's a very pertinent line
Mm-hmm.
because you can see that happening throughout the world and throughout history when you rob people of any hope,
Yeah.
and they're much easier to control. It
Mm-hmm.
makes it makes
Right.
perfect sense when you're down in a rut and
Uh-huh.
you're given an exit to another rut, you're still gonna take it. And so it's
Mm-hmm.
just a cycle where
Yeah.
they're like, hey, I know you're struggling, but at least gas is cheaper
Mm-hmm.
for now.
Yeah.
And then then the gas goes up again, and then we're able to remember the good times, and then
Yeah.
they come and go, and it's just we're forever chained to working 60-hour a week, 40-hour a week jobs.
Uh-huh.
And then we don't have time to think about the ramifications of our votes one way or the other, and
Mm-hmm.
or the we don't have time to consider campaign promises being made or
Right.
followed through on or otherwise. And then it's just so much easier to strip your rights away when you're not even looking.
Right. Yeah.
Our lives are so individually busy with
Mm-hmm.
all of the bureaucratic bullshit
Yeah.
and red tape and hoops you got to jump through for everything
Hmm.
that we don't have time to pay attention that, oh, like you don't have access to healthcare anymore or
Right, right. You just like you're fighting to survive. You don't have time. You don't have the luxury of
right,
processing everything and of thinking, wait, is there a viable path out of this? Is there a way to get back on top? Because the world is too busy putting their foot down on you. And
right.
you start to feel hopeless. You start to feel, and when you feel hopeless, you're less likely to even look for roads out of whatever you're in, you know?
No, and
It's
then
like
also go ahead.
oh what? Oh no, I was just gonna go back to the never-ending story, like a contrast of characters and how they actually deal with this nothing that's uh spreading over the land. Because there's this rock biter character, this giant who's just made out of rock. And he's like he's become hopeless. When Atreyu finds him again later in the movie, he's alone and he's like, I look like I'm strong. These look like big, strong hands, don't they? But then he talks about how he tried to save his little friends and they got sucked off by the nothing and it didn't matter how
Yeah.
big and strong he was. And so his choice was that he said, I'm just going to sit here and let it take me.
Yeah.
Because what's the point? But then in contrast, that scene I was talking about with Atreyu and Gamork, whenever Gamork says he's been hunting this little bitch who's trying to stop the nothing, and Atreyu doesn't know he's been being hunted this whole time. And like he's like, "Who was it? Who were you hunting?" And he goes, "His name was Atreyu." And so Atreyu's like, well, if we're gonna die anyway, I'd rather die fighting. Come for me, Gmork. I am Atreyu. And that's who I want to be during all of this shit.
Yeah.
If we're going to die anyway, then I'd rather die fighting.
And but
I'm
that's
not
just a
gonna give
children's
up.
story.
Oh, right, right. Children's stories can be the most powerful stories, in my opinion.
God, sh they sure can. Man, I was
Yeah.
reading one of those fun Reddit things, and it was
Hmm.
the t Today I Fucked Up uh subreddit,
Uh-huh.
and it was Today I Fucked Up by accidentally reading my kindergartners a story about two gay penguins. And the TLDR
oh,
was
there's a
that
couple books about gay penguins.
well, because it
Oh, but
actually
go on.
happened.
Yeah,
Penguins can be homosexual,
right.
and
And Tango Makes Three was the
yeah,
first
Tango
one.
makes three. Yeah, that's the one.
Uh-huh.
And this kindergarten teacher, preschool teacher, or whatever, she's like, I usually go to the library and just pick up 20 children's books. Don't even look at
Uh-huh.
them. I just pick them out through the children's section, and
Uh-huh.
and then I read them to my class. And I was like, oh, this one's got penguins on it. Cool. And so she said, while reading it, I quickly began to see a pattern. And while the book doesn't like show them having gay sex or anything,
Right.
it's clearly being like these two penguins found each other and
Mm-hmm.
love each other. Then these two penguins found an abandoned egg and they
Mm-hmm.
decided that they were going to raise it together, which is not far-fetched considering that men are the like male penguins are the primary
Oh
uh
yeah.
what do they
True.
call that? Nester incubator.
Caregiver, yeah.
Yeah, they're the
They
primary
sit on the
incubator.
nest.
They sit on the egg for all winter before it
Mm-hmm.
hatches while the mom goes and lives it up in Maui or whatever. And
Right, right.
and there's that March of the Penguins where you just see all the penguins just freezing their asses off, huddled up for like 3 months while this
Uh-huh.
egg incubates. And yeah, so that was a great case of children's storytelling. I mean, the Redditors really let her have it in terms of like, good for you. You're doing more than the education system in terms of
Right.
like that is the perfect age to tell them about the penguins and like
Mm-hmm.
it you don't have to say anything. You just have to read
Yeah.
them the book.
Yeah.
And like I love my friend can is that okay, yeah, love your friend.
Hmm.
Like,
Right. Right.
it's
It's just love is love. And that's the kind of thing, like, why is that so wrong when every Disney movie from 1930, what, one or whatever, or 39
yeah,
forward, every
onward
animated Disney movie,
has a
you
sleeping
know,
princess get kissed by a stranger.
right. Right. I mean, way creepier stuff than two penguins falling in love of the same gender and raising a child together. But, it's like sexless love stories. Like
Yeah,
what if Snow White had been revived by a princess in the forest? It would be the exact same story, And
yeah.
I think that's one of the things that's powerful about books like And Tango Makes Three. And the other one I was thinking of was called Pen Grooms, which isn't
Hmm.
based on that real life story to my knowledge. It's just this dude did doodles and then he was going to marry a guy and he was going to make invitations and he got convinced to do his little penguin doodles and then they made him wedding toppers and it just inspired him to write a story about the pen grooms and it's turned into kind of a series, but
Oh, that's
it's
great.
not pornographic. It's a children's book about love. And so
Right.
was, Disney princess movies, they're children's films about love. There's not sex in there. Like an adult will be like, yeah, and then they went to his castle and banged. But a child is just going to be seeing a story about love. I don't think Disney movies are necessarily anywhere near the best example of healthy relationships.
No.
But I'm just saying, it's a sexless love story. So
Yeah.
I don't get the threat of
Right.
that. It's like every different
Imagine if
love.
Disney Hercules was accurate.
Oh, for real.
It would
For
not be a
real.
children's not it would not be a children's
Yeah.
story.
Yeah. They cut that movie off before he butchered his wife and children.
Yeah. All over all over a dinner table. Like
Right.
they were having a meal and then he just
Yeah.
I don't
He
know,
just
he
went
stubbed his toe or
nuts.
something. It was something ridiculous.
Well, I think one of the gods was pissed at him and made him go nuts.
Yeah.
In the
And
in the mythology.
yeah, and so I mean, and then just the fact of how Hercules was conceived, like,
Right?
gods were just raping left and
Right,
right.
right. Zeus was a rapist. And weird, like he would turn
Yeah,
into animals and rape
animals.
people.
Yeah, he was a weirdo.
Yeah. Right, right. Now, speaking of storytellers, what were they on? What were they about in ancient
Well, yeah,
Greece?
no, well
Oh,
they were probably writing about what they saw. I mean, people like art imitates life.
right,
And so they were
right.
watching basically the rich and powerful fuck
Hmm.
over normal people,
Right. Yeah, and you know what I love
which
about
hasn't
Greek
changed much.
mythology? Like, one of the things I love the most about Greek mythology is how human the gods are. Like, their
Hmm.
portrayal of the gods, they're very flawed beings. There's nothing about them being perfect and unquestionable. It's these people are fucked up, the gods.
Can you
Like,
hear my cat at all?
no, not over the sound of my own glorious voice.
No, okay. Let me get him out of here because he's
Oh, okay.
meowing his head off.
All
I don't want that
right.
to come through in post. There.
Welcome back.
That would be brutal to go through in post. Like you just go to start editing and all you hear in the
Meow,
background,
meow.
dude, but if you are in there, I don't know if I didn't mark it down, but there was a good solid second. I don't know if you saw in the in the corner of my screen. He was just like giving me a death stare through the
What?
camera. Like he was just peeking over the little TV dinner table that I have there, and all you can see is the top half of his head and him just like staring directly into my soul.
That's
Uh,
fantastic. But yeah, like if we want to talk about storytellers though, while we're on the topic of children's stories. Well, and that doesn't necessarily a bend in Greek mythology because religion, like religious mythologies are taught to
Yeah.
um
No, when I was
children.
asking for clarification, I was like, so are we going to talk about like the Bible
We
and
can
like
I intended to
and just like
like there are a
storytelling
couple.
as like an art form?
Yeah, like anything. It's storytellers, like because I know I'm going to bring up a couple books in the Bible at least that I find impactful, that I find profound. And yeah, I talk about them more objectively than religiously. I did just get called an unchristian buckethead by my cousin online.
Hey, put that on a t-shirt.
So I know I should. Unchristian buckethead and a pea brain. But
Pea-brained on unchristian buckethead and then have an arrow
right.
pointing up to you on the t-shirt.
Right.
Wear that to his
But
funeral when he dies from measles.
whoa, I hope he doesn't. Honestly, like that's the most troubling part about all of that. Like I miss my family being my family, but oh well. But yeah, so while we're on the topic of children's books, like that's one of the things like just one of the storytellers who I admire, who ironically I wasn't really that into until I was an adult, was Morris Sindak, who wrote Where the Wild Things Are, among many, many other things. Are you familiar?
Yes, I read it a couple times when I was in elementary school.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
wanted one of
that's
those suits so bad.
right. The wolf suit that
Dude, I
Max
wanted
was
that thing
wearing.
so bad. I
Yes.
begged and begged for one of those and never got one because I'm sure
Dude,
there was a pretty premium on it
probably. I
on
would
on
wear
an
one.
official
I
one.
would. I'd wear it to bed. Like, well, would that make me a furry? Was Max a furry?
Yes, no, it's been confirmed. The furry community
Okay.
has accepted him.
For real?
Oh,
Or
I don't
just kidding?
know,
Okay.
probably.
I don't know if they've thought about it. That's funny though. But like Morris Sindak, what I love about him, like I guess it resonates with me as a storyteller myself, um, that he viewed children's books the same way that I do, and he wrote them, but he wrote children's picture books his whole life, his whole adult life, and he uh he didn't believe in children's books. That's not a direct quote. It's just like he was just writing a story and he was illustrating it. It was being marketed as a children's book, but to him, it was just a story. There's no reason an adult couldn't read that. And he wasn't afraid of using darker themes and material. He wasn't afraid of writing things and illustrating things that might be frightening to a child. Like he talked about Mickey Mouse at one point in an interview, and he was, old. Like he was in the Mickey Mouse Club when that was 1920s, 1930s program at the a nickel gets you in all day movie theaters where kids would be given a nickel by their parents on Saturday and told to go hang out at the movies. And they'd play cartoons like old school Mickey Mouse, who was insane. Old school Mickey Mouse
I
was
think
a
he owned
menace.
slaves.
He I don't think he was that old. But
Pluto?
oh right, oh damn. Yeah, Pluto and Goofy. They're both dogs. One of them wears no pants and a collar and is owned by Mickey Mouse. I don't
He was
know.
probably like the like one of the what was her name? One of the Kennedys that got like lobotomized
Oh,
and like
right.
shipped off.
Pluto's been
That's what Pluto was. Yeah,
lobotomized,
Pluto
and Mickey Mouse
was
doesn't put pants on him. Why?
yeah, no. Pluto
Why?
was Goofy's lobotomized younger brother. He came out feet first.
Right?
And it was the 30s and 40s, so
Right. Poor Pluto.
yeah,
But but like okay, but
he looked
Sinbad,
happy.
yeah, he did because he didn't know better. He didn't know any better. He didn't like chipmunks much. But
Racist.
yeah, he
There's
was kind of a
that's
race. That's
probably a
why they
communism
lobotomized
thing.
him.
Uh,
But
his hate for chipmunks probably a Red Scare thing.
one of them did have a red nose.
Mm.
Um, but
Talking
yeah,
about
so
Chippendale.
yeah,
Okay. I
yeah,
love Chippendale. I used to play their
I do too.
NES game all the time.
Oh, I remember that game.
Dude, that game was so good. It
Yeah, it
was co-op
was.
too. And I had a little 3-year-old as my co-op partner. I was Chip and he was Dale, and I was like, "Get it together, Dale." But anyway,
That's great. But yeah, but so Syndac, I think that's powerful because I think it's good for children to have darker themes, not to sugarcoat things like they do. Because okay, that's what I was saying about Mickey Mouse. Like when he was a little kid, he loved Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse was his hero. But then, you get to the later Disney like toning him down and making him look almost human and it's all Disneyfied. And he's not the maniac, the irreverent mischief maker that he once was, that he loved. He was, he was there to not frighten children. He was there to, you know,
pacify,
yeah, it was I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but sterilized kind of.
entrance.
Yeah, they neutered Mickey Mouse. And
Yeah,
he hated that. And I remember thinking, yeah, I'm right there with you. I get that. Like, I agree. Children should be able to read whatever they're capable of reading. A parent's job is to be willing to discuss things with their children. Like, I think he did a children's book that was pretty much based on the Holocaust. And he also did a book called In the Night Kitchen, which I mean, I could go on. I won't. I'll after the Night Kitchen, I'll no, I don't. I've got to make myself stop, or we'll just talk about Morris Sendak all night. Or I will, and you'll just have to listen. But like, the weird thing, like in the Night Kitchen was this book that again, I didn't even discover it until I was an adult, and just kind of realizing how much I respected Sendak as a storyteller. But like, it's this little boy in the Night Kitchen, and there's these weird ass bakers in there, like. And like this little kid, like this is a weird thing to say that I respect, but like, or it might be perceived as weird. But like the little boy starts flying at one point. Like he just flies up and he's gonna fly into a big bowl of dough because he's a little mischief maker. A lot of Syndic's protagonists are just little mischief makers. And like real
aka
little
children.
boys. Yeah, real children. Not little goody two shoes children, but like, and I don't remember the kid's name in that book, but the scene where he flies up into the air and it's full, he's ass naked. Like he throws off all his clothes and flies up in the air, and there's like full frontal, and there's his ding dong. And like, so why I respect that though is because I feel like little boys in particular are taught by things like neutered Mickey Mouse, it the whole idea that you don't show this to children, you don't talk about this in front of children, like death or your private parts, like
Penises.
little, yeah, penises. I feel like little boys are taught penis shame all
Absolutely.
their lives, and that you're supposed to hide it. Like you didn't ever see Bambi's dick, and he never wore pants. Like you don't, they hide it. They cast girl
Uh,
dogs to play
girl
boy dog,
horses.
girl horses to play boy horses because they don't. It's just a horrible, shameful thing to see a horse's giant nutsack when you're and like
Yeah, it makes American politicians feel bad.
right, pretty much. But I thought that was great that he didn't pretend when he's drawing this scene that little boys don't have penises. And any little boy reading that book,
Toriyama. Like
what?
Dragon Ball
Oh yeah.
Z.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah, see, I respected that
Yeah.
too.
He drew a
And
lot of
it's
wieners.
Right. It's like, because that's what's there. You
Yep.
know, it's, and a little boy seeing that feels validated. You're
Hmm.
like, oh, that's not something that I need to be ashamed of. You know, it wasn't sexual in nature. It wasn't erotic in any way. It was
Nope.
just a mischievous
Anatomically correct.
child tossing himself into a bowl of dough, ass nude. And yeah, it was, and it's a bold move, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, and
I'm sure
like,
that
that's,
wasn't in the film adaptation.
I don't know if they've made a film adaptation of In the Night
Probably not.
Kitchen. But I mean, he wrote stuff all about death for children.
Yeah, I
Like,
didn't know
I
that
love
he was
him.
the author of Little Bear.
He's no, he illustrated it. He wasn't the
Yeah,
author.
that's right. He illustrated the five original
Oh, and
books
I
in the Little
loved
Bear.
those books when I was a little kid.
I watched
Loved
the
them.
television
I
adaptation.
remember it on
Yeah, or what I now
Nickelodeon.
know was the television adaptation. I just thought that was just
Oh,
a
okay.
thing that was on the TV. I used to love me some Little Bear.
Little Bear was great. And those were really good stories too.
Yeah, Winnie the Pooh. I
Winnie
don't
the
know.
Pooh.
Yeah, I don't know if those were
Eh,
good stories. I don't know if there's
I've
like
never read,
any
like,
anti-Semitism in there.
I've been hunting for those books. I never can find them, and they're readily available. They're in print
Yeah,
perennially, but I do like Winnie the Pooh, the
I was a big
cartoon anyway.
I was a big Winnie the Pooh guy when I was a kid. I used to watch that
Yup,
shit over
same,
and over again.
because it was great.
Yeah, and then saying I was Barney. Barney
Hmm.
raised me. So I'm such a cool. That's why I'm such a lib and I
Right?
care about people.
Yeah, He-Man did that to me when
Yeah,
he raised me. I'm not
I'm
too
sure. I'm
crazy
sure.
about people who hurt trees.
What a good line.
Right, Leather
But
Daddy with a sword, and he's all
yeah,
about
I'm sure
peace
He-Man
and
did multiple things to
fairness.
you.
Right, right.
uh, yeah, no. Maybe I need to revisit some children's books
Yes.
or
No,
something.
there are some great stories in children's literature.
Hmm. His older brother, uh, Jack Sendak, also became an author of children's books.
Oh, I
Two
didn't
of,
know that.
yeah, two of which were illustrated by Maurice.
Oh, sweet.
Um, in 2011, he was working on a book about noses, and he attributed his love of the olfactory organ to his brother Jack, who, in Sendak's opinion, had a great nose.
That's fantastic.
Interesting. He was also gay as hell.
Yeah, gay. I
Yeah.
appreciate that too. Like,
Kept it from his parents for 50 years.
that I knew. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you know, I mean, this is
Tragedy.
a kid who watched Mickey Mouse in the 30s or
Yep.
so. Yeah, like, of course, yeah, coming out was not the thing that it is these days.
I wonder if Where the Wild Things Are is banned anywhere in the United States. I'm sure it
Probably.
is.
Probably.
Yeah, I'm
And you know,
sure it is.
the power of that book in particular to me is that it's showing again a mischievous little boy protagonist just being a real little boy and threatening to eat his mother up like he's a wolf. Like, so she sends him to bed without supper. And like, I think what it was really the message of that book was, you know, for one, show no fear. You know, like he goes to the island of the wild things and he conquers them by just not fearing them. You know, just looking them in the eyes and
Seeing them for what they are.
threaten. Yeah, and he's being the most wild thing of all. Because I think his mother was like, "You're a wild thing. You're going to bed." So
Yeah,
he
no,
goes, sails to where the
it is
wild things are.
it's on a list of 10 surprising banned books. Number two
I'm not
is Where the Wild
surprised.
Things Are, banned largely in the South, and psychologists called it
No
quote
doubt.
unquote too dark. Due to Max
Right.
being sent
See,
to bed without dinner, it was seen as promoting child abuse, as
that's
well
not.
as witchcraft and supernatural event.
Lord help me. See, but that's the thing. Like, he's not afraid to go dark, and it wasn't. It's had monsters in it, but they were probably imaginary. I mean, that's what I took from the book. Like, he goes into his little imagination world when
He
he
had a
gets into
dream.
his room. Right. And when he wakes up, child abuse my ass.
Yeah, have
He
you guys
finds
ever
that his
watched
dinner
anything
is
from
waiting for him right there. and it was still
It's
warm.
funny,
That's how the book
they'll ban
ends.
a book that quote unquote promotes child abuse, but won't actually do anything about child abuse.
Oh, right, right. Except pretend child abuse, like
Yeah.
all the children that are allegedly getting forced into sex change is not a thing. But like Sindak and Where the Wild Things Are, the message there is you're a little boy, you're a wild thing sometimes, you're gonna get in trouble for it, but your mom still loves you. Like you get sent to bed
Yeah.
without supper, you wake up and your dinner is still warm and it's right there waiting for you. You're not a bad, unlovable person if you get in trouble. Like you're gonna get in trouble growing up, but that
Yeah.
doesn't mean you're unworthy of love. Um,
No, and
and the
I was
monsters
thinking,
can't hurt you if you are brave enough to and strong enough to face them down. Like a lot of the monsters will back down if you stand your ground. It's a powerful book for children, I
yeah,
think.
no, honestly, it might be a powerful tool for parents
Yes,
to
I think so.
understand like why a child might be attracted to this book
Yeah.
and like to understand the child's psychology of why my child likes this book so much. Huh,
Right.
maybe my child has a wild side. And
Right. They all do.
maybe we need to embrace it more
Hmm.
by
Find a way to
giving
work with it.
find a way to work with it. You know what's a great way to have a child embrace their wild side? Freaking squirt gun fights.
Heck
Squirt gun
yeah.
fights, water balloon fights, like non like dangerous and socially acceptable ways to run
Uh-huh.
wild and cause mayhem.
Right.
You know, like
Right.
have you ever taken a dog to the beach
I have not, but I fantasize about it.
and
I've
then
taken a dog lots of other places though and had adventures.
dude, it's crazy. Like, dogs tear up your apartment and stuff like that. But then you
Yeah.
take them to the beach and see what happens when you take them home.
Right. They come
They are
home and they are
knocked out.
calm. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
got it out. And so children likely need that as
They
well.
do. They absolutely
Children's
do.
acting up and stuff, well, they're sent to an institution for 8 hours a day where they're told to sit still, shut up, and pay attention. And they
Hmm.
get home and they want to run a little wild and they get told sit down, do your homework and pay attention, and
Right.
then it's like finally time they get to play for like 30 minutes and then it's sit down and eat your dinner and eat all of it,
Hmm.
even though I made it, and if you don't like it
Right.
then you don't have to eat it, instead of
Hmm.
being like able to express that I don't like mac and cheese, it doesn't vibe with me. Well, too bad
Right.
I made it, and you can either eat
Hmm.
it or you sit at the table. My parents used to make me sit at the table until I finished
Yeah.
my dinner.
Hmm.
I was either full or I didn't like the way it tastes, and I was forced to just sit there. I was sometimes there until my parents went to bed, and then I was able to go to bed.
Hmm.
And I mean, and I was definitely one of those kids, who probably needed an outlet
Hmm.
to run around. I got the ADHD or whatever they call it.
Right.
Uh,
Same.
so I mean, yeah, I
Yeah,
didn't jive well with school, and books like that could be a a good tool for parents.
I agree completely.
And it's cool that some of my friends have become parents because I get to like witness in real time like the culmination of like everything we've discussed and seen growing up as children now
Hmm.
being like attempted to be corrected. And something I was thinking
Right.
about last night, this is sort of I mean, this is completely unrelated, but just in parenting in general is just
Yeah.
I saw a TikTok about like the dad using the dad voice as opposed to the gentle parenting. I don't know if I could do gentle parenting all the
Hmm.
time. Like sometimes like when gentle parenting fails, like
Hmm.
a little raised voice and a snapping tone, I feel like might be beneficial to an appropriate child's age. Like,
Right. Sometimes a firm tone
yes,
speaks
no,
well. You don't have to scream at your child or
don't
berate
don't
them
have to
or insult
scream
them or call them names.
or uh or raise your hand like you're gonna do something to them. Just a firm
Uh-huh.
tone, because I think to like, we are better than beasts. I like to think that we're better than beasts. I battle with this in my head all the time, where
Hmm.
I'm just like, my faith in humanity goes down, the more I correlate us to beasts. And then
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
faith in humanity only goes up when I tell myself we're not beasts. We need to be better.
We have the capacity to be
But then
better,
I look at beasts and the harmony they exist, and I'm like, we can never attain that sort of harmony.
right? You
And
know,
like so
you're
I
about to get me talking about Star Trek, so I'm not
and
gonna. I'm gonna
and
let you take the next
because like
storyteller.
look at wolves and whatnot.
Okay.
They will let you know when you have fucked up. A
Mm-hmm.
mother wolf to her pups will snap, snarl, and stare at their pups
Yeah.
when they are doing some bad shit.
Mm-hmm.
And when parents try to do that to their children, the societal backlash can be immense. But there are plenty
Yeah.
of kids out there that are like, yeah, one time I wouldn't stop putting my hand in the garbage, and my dad finally, after asking me to stop, like raised his voice and yelled at me and told me to quit that fucking shit. And I
Yeah.
stopped. And I feel
Right.
like I'm a better person now because of all the times my parents got firm.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I'm not a parent. Anyway, so
Right.
for my storyteller, um, I listen to a lot of music,
Mm-hmm.
and
Ah.
and there's a particular artist that tells immaculate stories. Like
Mm-hmm.
they write concept albums
Mm-hmm.
and just great lyricism and storytelling. Really paints a picture. I'm talking about Garrett Russell for Silent Planet. I've talked about him probably at least 3 times on this show.
Mm-hmm.
Talked about him with you off camera in our own conversations multiple times, but a lot of this stuff is either like politically charged or well, honestly, nowadays it's pretty much all politically charged. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately.
yeah, and his stuff, like he comes from a Christian background, much like ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
But and he has faith, but he doesn't include that too much in his narratives.
Mm-hmm.
He looks at things from a very humanistic approach. Like their latest concept album was all about aliens
Mm-hmm.
and
Interesting.
the Anunnaki,
Mm-hmm.
and so it was a fun ride. And so here we have a Christian that's able to think about life outside of our Christian planet, our
Mm-hmm.
God created Earth. And but no, he wrote, this song, and I mean he used to include, I don't know, he's gotten a little more lax with his lyricism, more of his off his own head, but
Yeah.
if you bought the album, you know how it comes with like the insert
Mm-hmm.
and it has like the lyrics, or
Yeah.
lots of
Yeah.
bands choose to include the lyrics on their
Right.
inserts. Um,
Essential. I love
he
that.
would have footnotes or annotated lyrics,
Hmm.
and then at the bottom would include uh the source for all of his lyrics. And
Nice.
and so like in this one song, which is one of my favorite songs called Lower Empire,
hmm
it has a total of 15 annotated notes. What do they call those? Footnotes when there's a little number? Or is it
Yeah,
annotations?
it's a well both. It's
Gotcha.
both. An
Gotcha.
annotated book or whatever has footnotes.
Has footnotes. Gotcha. So he has 15, and they are from number one was from George Orwell,
Mm.
Politics and the English Language. Two was Roxanne Dunbar Ortiz from An Indigenous People's History of the United States.
Ooh.
Three, Howard Zinn, A People's History of the United States. Number four was from Psalm 95:4,
hmm
uh, which reads as legions we carved into the palm of God's hands. This song is all about American colonialism and
Mm.
uh, the irony of Americans calling immigrants uh,
Oh yeah.
strangers
Yeah.
in our land. Um, the first line, bind the wrist, cut the tongue, call it liberation. That's from George Orwell. And then Invader, you dare make me a stranger. Invader, you brand me as a traitor. Number two is from the Indigenous
Nice.
People's
Yeah,
History.
I figured as
Um,
much.
Number three, Howard Zinn, these borders were forged and lost, painted with a martyr's forgotten blood.
Hmm.
And just he goes on and on. He's got Nelson Mandela in there, Mother Teresa. This one's fun. According to Prison Policy Initiative, America currently has the largest population in the world at 2.3 million people. So somewhere in there, he makes a reference to America's prison population. Uh, he annotated that, so this isn't a direct quote, but he's the one annotating all of these. So this one is nuclear families split apart like the atom. Just a couple digs in
Nice
there.
line.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, he just writes and writes and writes, and I can't get enough of it. I've
Hmm.
I have all their albums on vinyl,
Hmm.
and uh, they never expected to blow up the way they did.
Hmm.
But how shocking that in 2015, 2014, 2015, the music community was so receptive to the narratives this man, like it's like that
Hmm.
phenomenon like where
Do,
like
do, 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 do. Sorry.
a hero shows up in a time of need,
Oh yeah.
like like messiahs rise at the point
Hmm.
of convergence where they are needed. And so
Right.
in a time of endless turmoil, we have this man who is studying a PhD in psychology that just decides that also likes metal music, decides to create
Uh-huh.
his median, get together with some buds, and just put out this fun thing, put a little bit of time into it, but I'm still going to do my PhD. This
Hmm.
music, I can't make money off of music, but then people were so moved by it
Yeah.
that here they are now working on their like sixth studio album 10 years later.
Cool.
He's still going to school, but he's not doing a PhD program anymore. He's still a student per se of
Hmm.
he reads a ton. That's what he does on tour. He doesn't play video games or sleep around with underage women
Hmm.
and all that usual rock star stuff, drugs and all that. Um,
Right.
he just reads books. He's just back there reading George Orwell or whatever.
Hmm.
Let's get him in here. I'm sure he could tell us about some
That
storytellers. But yeah, no, I mean,
would be fun.
I enjoy. I mean, that's one of the many just largely accessible mediums of storytelling that
Hmm.
I've found to be like enjoyable. I do enjoy a good, just a good beat and rhythm and the music, but I'm usually moved by lyricism. I
Hmm.
mean, hell, we've got that banger out right now that just came from TikTok, the hostile government takeover one that just gets
Oh
stuck in my
yeah.
head all day
Yeah.
long.
Uh-huh.
And that's a perfect example of storytelling. Like that is
Yes.
part of human
Yes.
history now. That song in this moment of time will be uncovered, 50,000 years from now, and it will tell a tale. It'll be a boppin' EDM disco beat
Right.
telling of a hostile government takeover um, by a rich white man,
Hmm.
and they won't know what it means. Um,
Yeah.
Hopefully, we'll still be around by then.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? But I mean, I like that because music, like song in particular,
It's the original
like
storytelling
that's exactly, yeah, it's pre-writing. Heroes' deeds were recorded in song,
and
like
bards. Yep.
yeah, yeah, that's what bards did.
Yeah,
And
I
I
mean,
love that. It was
they
because that
sang of creation.
uh-huh.
They sang of the old ways. I
Yeah.
mean, we got
Yeah.
whales still doing it.
Right,
Their
right,
history is
probably.
passed on. Their storytelling is all through song.
Right. We translate whale song and it's all so Robin ran away. Like
Or it's like
uh
some degenerate like trap music. with a bunch of F bombs
It's
and
it's
swears and
gangs
derogatory terms for women and
it's gangster rap. That's what whale song is.
it's OWA, Orcas with Attitude.
I like it.
Oh,
Well,
that'd
yeah,
be great.
it
Yeah,
would.
so your turn. You can tell about a storyteller now.
Oh, my turn. Ooh, tell a story about a storyteller.
Yeah,
Let's
tell us
see.
how a storyteller has touched you, Glenn. Where did he touch you?
Where did where did the
Show
storyteller
me on the
touch you?
doll where the storyteller touched.
Either point to my heart or my head. I
Oh
mean, I
man,
might point
man, I
somewhere
still want to.
else,
Yeah, I still
depending
want
on
to
the
read these
storyteller.
lyrics. I could just sit here and read lyric. Like you could talk about Star Wars, and I could just be like, so this lyric, right?
Right.
I need to just close these out because they're just gonna keep glancing over at them. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, if anybody wants to go check it out, the vocalist actually did a YouTube channel interview
Uh-huh.
describing those lyrics in detail. Silent Planet, Garrett Russell, Lower Empire, good stuff. If you're not a
Heck yeah.
fascist, go enjoy.
Right, right.
If you
And
are a
maybe even if
fascist,
you
you'll
are a
probably read it and
fascist,
think it's about Democrats.
Right.
Because I was gonna say this about the V for Vendetta rant. Uh,
Yeah.
the funniest thing that I've seen in the past year is Republicans thinking that V for Vendetta represents what they want.
No, I know when it
That's
very
so
clearly
fucking crazy that
is
they think that the Democrat
anti-fascist.
deep state is the fascist government depicted in like they think Hillary Clinton is the fascist leader in
Right.
V for Vendetta, and they think that Donald Trump is V. And I'm
Right.
like,
Right.
you literally have
Bullshit.
no situational awareness or self
None.
comprehension.
None.
And
Because it's just so like they say it. They say we're the bad guys, basically. They tell you. They're the ones taking away rights. They're the ones banning books. They're the ones targeting minority groups. As in V for Vendetta, like the Stephen Fry character, who was a talk show host or whatever, but he was hiding his gay life because of the regime, and he wound up getting dragged off, like
and killed.
that's right, which is what Trumpism seems to be all about. So how,
Hmm.
and okay, so you made up my mind, and I don't know if you're going to be tired of this, but I'm going to talk about Gene Roddenberry from my next one, the creator of Star Trek, because this segues. Like, because like it's what baffles me. It's like science fiction in general is pretty woke as a genre. Um, like
Alien.
science fiction has always been used to like really good science fiction. It's to write about the present day that we live in a coded way. Like where we're not talking about Democrats and Republicans. We're talking about this alien faction and that alien faction. Like
But these are
like
Jews and
Star
those are
Trek.
communists.
Right. Like Star Trek, the original Star Trek series did an episode where there's these two guys and they're just at war, like these two races from this planet, and one of them has white. The right side of their face is white, the left side of their face is black. The other one, it's reversed. The right side of their face is black, the left side of their face is white. And so they hate each other. And like the great part of that episode is the ending. I mean, skip ahead if you don't want spoilers. You've had what, 60 years almost to watch this, but
So
um
this is particularly episode 349.
yeah, they didn't go that far on the original series, but yeah, I don't know what episode. I don't even know what it was titled. But like it's revealed at the end that they they like get back to their planet or whatever. The Enterprise gets them home, I think is how it ended. And they find that their planet, there's no one alive down there. Like they've wiped each other out. And these two dudes on the Starship Enterprise are the last two people alive and they represent each, they have inverted facial colors and they keep fighting.
Hmm.
Like it's like their whole race has annihilated itself. And it's like that's the kind of powerful shit Gene Roddenberry would do on Star Trek. And in the 1960s, I mean, I think I have a theme with a lot of this is I like bold and audacious writers, like storytellers who aren't afraid to speak truth to power. Like because Star Trek in general, Gene Roddenberry's whole thing was it's the Starship Earth, really. The Enterprise is the Earth. And so he had a Russian character in there on the crew. He told the producers in the 1960s there were not black people on TV. I mean, if they were servants. He
Right.
told the producers early into the first season, he's like, I want to add some more color to the set. Can I have this budget increase? And they were like, oh, yeah, sure. Put some more color on the set. He cast a black woman as the communications officer, and she's on the bridge. She's not a maid. They were pissed. But he had one of the first interracial kisses and episodes that he wasn't afraid to get banned like where network affiliates in different cities, like in the South especially, would not air some episodes of Star Trek. And so I think what you were saying that made me think of that about V for Vendetta is I'm always astonished that there are fans of Star Trek who are bitching today about modern Trek has been ruined because it's gotten woke. And it's like anyone who's really a Star Trek fan is like, when was Star Trek not woke? Like when were they not pushing boundaries? Like the network tried to stop the kiss. But like the actors, like they made them do different takes and William Shatner, who played the captain, like on the every take they did other than the one that they'd already done where they actually just kissed, he'd be like make some ridiculous face so that they couldn't use that cut and they wound up they had no footage but the actual genuine interracial kiss.
Oh
um
man, that's so awesome.
yeah, it's so awesome. And I mean, so that's what I like storytellers with balls. And like everybody who he brought on board with Star Trek, they got it, they got what was going on that show. Like it was, post World War II, he had a Japanese navigation guy, like a navigator,
So many
Sulu.
jokes there.
I mean,
Sorry.
yeah, yeah, it's all right.
This isn't my comedy channel, so I'll be
Right, right.
reserved.
Okay,
I don't
good.
have a comedy
But
channel for those wondering.
not yet.
I could one
You
day.
could. But yeah, it's like I like that his vision of things, it's aspirational. Like a future, it's all about humanity meeting their potential. They don't have money anymore. They don't have interpersonal conflicts so much, like because they've grown beyond it as a society. They're all about bettering themselves and going out and exploring and learning about other people and cultures. And it's all about the power of diversity, infinite. Um, I can't remember the quote, like something like infinite diversity in infinite forms is something one of the characters, I think it was Spock, said something like that. But like that's what it's all about, like how diversity is beneficial, like not squelching out some group that's different, And science fiction is great at doing that, but Star Trek was a trailblazer, and it's still woke as hell. Like they've got trans characters on modern Star Trek shows. They've got gay characters, which that took a long time to do, but they're trailblazers, and I love
No, and
that
what
vision still
the other thing that it
persists long
that
after
the
his death.
yeah, and in that as well, they also there's all of that everything you just said, all of that unity and all of that, and like intrinsic inclusivity and the
Hmm.
diversity, and but what is still there is conflict. And
Uh-huh.
through it all, they maintain, they don't strip
Right.
rights to conflict as a
No.
form of conflict resolution. They're not like,
Exactly.
well, those rape gangs from Sporglegog, what we need to do is just strip all the rights from all the Sporglegogs and we will
Put them in
solve the problem.
concentration camps.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like,
No.
they so it's all of the diversity, all of the utopianism,
Hmm.
but conflict has not gone away. There's
Right.
nothing but conflict in
Right.
Star Trek. Otherwise, there
Right.
wouldn't be a show.
Right,
And
exactly. But it's with other less socially evolved people that they encounter out there. And what's great about it is that they always seem to resolve the conflicts in the long run with these other species out there by learning about them and
yes,
learning that the bad guys aren't usually really the bad guys. They're just different and they have a different outlook on things. And maybe if we approach them this way, things will be different. Like they had in the original cast era, their arch enemies were the Klingon Empire, these warlike aliens, and I think one of the things that's great is Gene Roddenberry came back to Star Trek and did Star Trek The Next Generation with Patrick Stewart as the captain and all that. And it's like 70 something years later on the timeline. And he put a Klingon on the crew. Like, because by then they've evolved even more and their longtime Cold War enemies, the Klingons, are now their, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a tenuous alliance. Like they're at peace.
they have
They're not at
ambassador
war
peace
anymore.
ambassadors.
Right, right. And they have a Klingon serving on the Enterprise. Like, and that's how it always happens. Like, they'll have a long-running villain, perhaps, but eventually they'll figure out how to communicate with that villain in a constructive way and
Yeah,
make
I
pe
mean,
and be friends.
are they as bad as a DBZ though, where it's like literal war crime
No.
atrocities are forgiven? Like,
Well,
yeah,
some like in
because I
some of the
mean,
new shows, but it makes sense.
in DBZ, Vegeta used to wipe out planets,
Right.
and then like
Right. And they're just like,
now he's good.
yeah, the old Star Wars books were like that too. Like had one of Luke's apprentices go bad and start blowing up people's sons, and they forget he got better. And they're like, well, that he was different back then. It's like what?
Yeah, he was a nice boy from a good
Yeah,
upbringing.
yeah,
He's just working through some things right now.
hmm,
That's why he murdered all those women and children.
yeah, yeah. He just wasn't feeling good that day.
Yeah, he
But
had a bad
no,
dream.
with Star Trek, it's usually a slow burn. Like I think it took like they started in the 60s. It was the late 1980s when they became friends with the Klingons.
And
Finally.
60 in universe years had passed or something like that.
Like, yes, 70 something and well,
Gotcha.
more because I think the original Cruise story spans about 27 years.
And
So it
that's
was
enough.
70 something years after that.
And what that also highlights just in storytelling is it's like, or rather a storytelling's reflection of real life is it's usually not the people that are bad. It's usually the
Hmm.
leaders.
Right.
Because
Right.
it's the kings of our countries that lead its people to war.
Hmm.
We're constantly like there's a movie with Timothy Chalamet and
Hmm.
Robert Pattinson. I think they call it, what is it called? It's called like The King or
Interesting. I
something.
haven't heard of that.
Yeah, no, I gotta remember because it's a historical uh it's not historical fiction. It's like
Hmm.
loosely based on history from like the
Ah,
12th century or some shit.
okay.
Um and in that Timothy Chalamet's character plays oh, it's a 2019 epic historical drama film directed by David Michod, I think that's how you say it.
Mm.
Micho with a little thing over it, and then D,
Uh-huh.
based on several plays from William Shakespeare's Henriade. So, oh, it is based on a loosely based on real events in the historical plays by William Shakespeare. The movie's central figure is Prince Hal, who eventually becomes Prince
Mm.
or King of England, and it's all about how it's his disdain for fighting for his father, the king. Like he's a good warrior and he's a good scrapper, but he hates the fact that we're all poor folk fighting and
Uh-huh.
dying in the mud for a king's war. And I mean, in
Yeah.
those, so I mean, what you described to me was sort of it sort of touched on that where you were talking about the two-faced people and all their
Mm.
people are
Oh
dead. I'm like,
yeah.
you guys did that.
Right.
They probably didn't want to fight each other. You incited them.
Mm-hmm.
You made them feel trapped and hopeless, and you blamed the other, and
Right.
you caused them to do all of that.
Mm-hmm.
They probably would have lived perfectly peaceful, and y'all probably would have eventually fucked each other enough to eventually have one side
Right.
or the other of the face, all one or the
Uh-huh.
other,
Or just swirls.
or
I
just
mean,
a
that could
swirl.
be the
Yeah,
evolved
yeah, it would
version.
eventually mix together if you just would have let things be.
Yeah.
And I mean, look at anthropologists' projections of what humans are going to look like in
Oh
500
yeah.
years, in a
Yeah.
1,000 years. We're all going to be brown.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just there are way more pigmented people on this planet than there are non-pigmented,
Right. Well, and
and
we used to
eventually
have
it's
way
all
more
going to mix.
diversity. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Well, because
Which is kind of,
we used to be separated by distance, and
yeah,
so
and that's
and
why we
so
evolved differently. And
yes, and now that we have, for all intents and purposes, erased distance on this planet,
uh-huh.
with travel capability and instant communication,
Right.
um,
Instant global communication for free.
which is insane.
Yeah.
Like the fact that we have that and we
Mm-hmm.
are not a utopia yet baffles
Right.
me. Like we
Mm-hmm.
can all see the injustice, and it just goes to show how. Here we go. Yeah, no, sorry.
Do it.
That's no.
Do
This is a
it.
different
Preach.
episode.
No, it's not. Well, but finish your thought
Yeah, no,
though.
no. I mean, it just goes to show how beaten down we all are
Yeah.
because we overpower our masters 99 to 1, and yet
Yeah.
we are all so content with just bitching about it on Facebook or Twitter.
Right. Well,
And
I mean, don't get me started on George Lucas. It's your turn.
yeah, right.
Like,
So I've
because
got
no,
one.
see, it's not irrelevant. Like that makes me think of other storytellers I admire and issues that they
We're big
confront.
fans of stories here.
We
And
really
like
are.
I like a good feel-good story as much as the next guy. Like I love
Uh-huh.
a good rom-com, I should say.
Right, right.
Um, you know, uh, and then
That's
I
very
like I
subjective.
like a good drama.
Uh-huh.
And to be fair, I do like some trashy rom-coms as well. Uh,
Yeah.
but no, I think my bread and butter is typically a nice sci-fi with a good dose of the butter being social commentary, modern
Yeah,
social
yeah.
commentary. Because what I've got here is the Alien franchise,
Oh, hell
which
yes.
is like to
Let's
your
go.
point, it just it pretty much enacts exactly what I was just talking about, where
Hmm.
you are not cared for by your employers. You are a
Right, right.
statistic, you are a number,
Hmm.
and it's all about the corporation. It's
Yeah.
like that's what that series is all about.
Yeah, it's
Aliens,
like Alien Romulus wasn't about Amazon. It was about
yeah, no.
this planet where
Oh, have you
you just
seen that?
yeah.
You saw Alien Romulus? Dude,
Uh-huh.
that thing
Alien is one of my
fucked me
favorite
up.
film series. Really?
That that creature reveal in theaters
Oh,
on release day,
yeah.
no spoilers, fucked me up, dude.
Hmm.
And one of their best. One of their
Yeah.
best. I thought Alien Romulus was amazing.
I loved it.
It was a good
Yeah.
refresher to the series.
Hmm.
I think it probably goes down as my number two favorite Alien
Hmm.
movie. Um,
Yeah.
the original being my favorite.
Oh,
Um,
okay, really? That's fair. I mean, the original should be. Well, not. There's no such thing as should. Go on.
yeah, no, and I think that like take the original out. So the original is the original.
Right, and
It's
that's what
honestly,
makes it
it's
because of
neither
its
my favorite. It's neither my
originality.
favorite, nor can I ever say it's the worst one. Because the worst
Hmm.
one is undoubtedly Alien 3.
I would say the worst one, like, well, yeah, I mean, to you it is because it's subjective. There is no
Yes.
right or wrong. But like to me, the worst one is Aliens versus Predator Requiem.
Oh yeah. See, I don't
That's
even
way
count
worse
those.
than okay,
I
then
don't
not
even
counting
count
not counting the
those.
crossover films,
Yeah.
just the
Because
standalone
Alien vs.
Alien
Predator
films.
was awesome.
Yeah,
As
I
far
think
as just a
Alien 3
good
is the
trashy
weakest,
action
but I
movie,
liked it.
Alien vs. Predator was
The
amazing.
first one
The
was
first
I
one was amazing.
love the first
Yeah,
one.
I mean,
It's
you
a
got
good
everything you
movie.
want. You got both your favorite aliens with good special
Yeah.
effects,
Yeah.
good story, honestly,
Uh-huh.
Aztec
It was a
pyramid
good
in
story.
Antarctica or whatever.
Hmm.
And then you got a black woman lead. Uh,
Hmm.
you got everything you want. You got aliens, you got badass black woman, you got great one-liners. That movie had great
Yeah, it
one-liners.
did. And
Um,
man, it was worthy of, say, James Cameron's Aliens, which was
yeah.
very action packed and like
And I
creative
loved
and a
Aliens.
very inventive expansion of that story.
Yeah, no, I loved Aliens, and the reason why I hate Alien 3 is because it made Aliens,
Right.
it just completely redacted everything that happened in Aliens.
Yeah, pretty much. We go through
Like,
20 minutes of making sure everyone gets out alive at the end of Aliens.
and then we
And
go through
Alien
five
3, the
minutes of
first
them
five
all being dead,
seconds. Yeah. Yeah.
including
That
Ripley.
that pissed me off.
Yeah.
Well, Ripley
Like,
wasn't dead, and well, not at the beginning.
yeah, not at the beginning, but you knew she was dead from about 20
Once,
minutes in.
yeah,
And
exactly.
I
Once
liked
she
it. I
found
I thought
out.
the way they wrapped it up was fine. I thought it was
Yeah.
cool, but I would have at
Uh-huh.
least liked to see the little girl die and her little boy toy from Alien
Right. Right.
instead of just like, oh yeah, she died. Basically we that actor grew up,
Hmm.
and we don't have the writing staff to write her character. Instead,
Yeah.
we've got all these rapists and murderers. Men can play
Right.
that. Just they can just ad lib the whole thing because that's what men
Hmm.
are. And so Alien 3 not bad, but in terms of like the story of Alien, like Alien 3 standalone would have been a great movie. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
but in the overall continuity, its only importance was killing Ripley.
Right. Right.
And then Alien Resurrection fucked over all of that. um
Yeah, and I loved
but Alien
Alien
Resurrection,
Resurrection. I know
it
I'm in
it
a minority. I love that
I
film.
love that movie too. It's one of the first Alien movies that I actually sat all the way through.
Oh yeah.
And it has the updated special effects of being like a
Uh-huh. It
2002
was
film.
1997.
Was it?
Yeah, and Alien 3 was 92. But it did, like, in that 5 year span of time, technology and
Yeah.
filmmaking
No,
did
it got a
advance.
lot better because it was
Hmm.
no longer a person in a suit or a puppet. It was
Oh, right, there were
CGI.
scenes. I think there was some people in suits, but there was also CGI. Like, I love
Yes.
the underwater
The
stuff they
underwater
did in that.
scene.
I
Yeah.
love that. That freaked me out. Like,
It
no, for
freaked
real,
me out. I couldn't take a
there's
bath for like a
no.
week.
Right. There's no movie monster that genuinely scares me other than like if they were real. Like I had a nightmare once though about those things just being in
Hmm.
my neighborhood and
Yep.
that was terrifying. Just the idea of those monsters is legitimately terrifying.
But Alien Resurrection is a good launching point for my point of all of this
Oh, good.
because a lot of people who have maybe seen the Alien movies and whatnot and maybe
Hmm.
paid attention here and there, um, for one, they don't realize that Aliens takes place 50 years,
57 years. Yeah.
57 years after Alien. And then two, people don't realize that Alien Resurrection takes place
Takes place
300
200. Yeah,
Yeah,
hundreds, two or three. Yeah.
yeah. I think it was 300 from the original Alien movie,
Mhm.
and so it's like 250 years after
Yeah, it's
Alien,
centuries later. Ripley has
and
been dead for hundreds of years.
and the corporations of Earth
Yes,
have gone against all of the advice of Ripley,
as they always do.
as they always do. The whistleblower, they killed her, took her discovery, and are militarizing it.
Right, they're trying to clone the alien DNA from her body, and they keep getting weird combos
Yeah, and they succeed.
and
And they succeed. I mean, they quote unquote succeed. They create
right.
something.
Uh-huh.
And then I mean, yeah, no, I mean, it just that movie just goes to show that even hundreds of years in the future,
Hmm.
corporations will be corporations.
Yeah.
This is what we're paying into now. For now, they're just taking all of our hard-earned money and our
Uh-huh.
time. They're taking years off of our lives, essentially.
Yeah.
Like we should all,
Yeah.
with as much as executives get paid, we should all be able to retire at 35. Like we should put in our time, don't get me wrong. Like everybody who can work should work.
Hmm.
And then you should be able to retire at 35 and do your art, see the
Yeah.
world,
Yeah.
explore,
I agree.
indulge in your passions, so long as they aren't infringing on
Right.
anyone's rights. But instead, we're enslaved for 75 years
Uh-huh.
from birth to death, essentially. We are
Right.
all just
It's
little pawns to
and
the
yeah.
corporation oligarchs.
Yeah, and that's what the alien films are actually all about.
Yeah,
It's
no, and
all about the corruption of the system of
we'll eat you alive.
capitalism, and yeah,
Will eat
it's
you
like
alive
capitalism
and
versus
birth
nature.
new. Yeah. Well, no, I
Yeah.
mean, the aliens are capitalism and they eat you alive, but not only do they eat you alive, they plant a seed inside of you to allow
Uh-huh.
capitalism to grow and sprout and spread.
Right. Right.
And
Oh,
yeah, no, so I
I
mean,
love it.
yeah,
But it's horrifying, and maybe that's the true horror of those films.
yes. Once I realized that, I understood the true horror of those films.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, The Company.
the company. Yeah, you don't matter. I mean, there have been video games about this. Borderlands, a great
Hmm.
video game
Hmm.
about capitalism and corporate things because you are literally sent to a planet for the corporation to
Yeah.
find Elon Musk, essentially, Handsome Jack uh in the Borderlands franchise is hailed as a hero, inventor, entrepreneur, and all he
Interesting.
does is pay hunters to go out,
Yeah.
find a vault, and then he finds you, kills you, and takes the vault. Um,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then there's the same people who made KOTOR 2 made Outer Worlds, which is exactly the same. You work for the corporation, going out and helping to spread the corporation to the stars. And it's just full of
Yeah.
all sorts of political commentary, political humor.
Hmm.
And it's just like like whenever you die, you'll like respawn in a little animatronic booth and it's like, "Sorry about your death." You know,
Yeah.
we've taken the liberty of creating you a new body and we've charged your account $35 million. It's like, enjoy. You know, you'll be debt free
Uh-huh.
until you die again. Like,
Hmm.
or you know, you'll be saddled with debt until you die again.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I mean, the corporation spreading into the stars is a scary reality because
Hmm.
it's over as soon as Tesla gets its hands on, you know, kryptonium or whatever the fuck is floating around out there in the asteroid belt.
Right. Yeah, there's
Oh
all
man.
kinds of things out there. But oh, what? Were you so anything
No,
else
no,
to say
I'm
on
done. Yeah,
Alien?
yeah,
'Cause
I like this format. You take a storyteller now.
yeah, okay, so I mean, things you say keep bringing it up, but I'm not gonna go too hard into Star Wars because we did a whole episode about that very recently.
True, true.
But
But
we
he is worth mentioning here.
very much because that's a storyteller who's definitely inspired me. throughout my life, and had an impact. It's like, because I like the political stuff in Star Wars. I
Yeah.
love that. I like all of the good versus evil, but George Lucas as a storyteller, again, we're back to someone who's just audacious and bold and gives no fucks about what people tell him he can or cannot do. And that's what I think I respect about him the most as a storyteller, is that he's a true artist. Like, yes, he made billions of dollars with his stories, but he was an indie filmmaker. He just happened to hit it big with a film called American Graffiti, which was about, I think, young people cruising in the 1950s, maybe it was the 60s. I'm not sure. It came out in the 70s and it was like a nostalgia film, so probably it took place earlier, but like he took that movie and they were like, "Oh, you can write your own ticket now, kid. After you made that hit, what do you want to make?" And he's like, "I want to make this Star Wars." And they're like, "This is a cartoon. What the hell are you doing to your career?" And he's like, "Nope, this is it. I want to tell this story." And he did it, and everyone told him not to. And like the studio executives were all on him about shit. They were very, very uncomfortable with the Wookiee and his
Yeah,
pantlessness.
they tried to
And
give
they
they tried to give Chewie pants.
they did. They literally wanted to him. They tried because they don't understand. They're just like, this is a stupid cartoon. Put Lederhosen on him. Can you imagine? Like
It
if
wouldn't look bad.
Chewbacca
It
wore
wouldn't look bad,
Lederhosen,
honestly.
yeah,
I can see
he
it.
could pull it off. He could pull it
Honestly,
off, but
that's
I
the
don't think
only
people would have
clothing
taken.
item I can see him wearing without it looking weird.
uh,
Like, imagine him wearing like blue jeans and like a graphic tee from
you're
Kohl's.
right. Yeah, Lederhosen would look better on Chewbacca than
Like,
that.
I mean, I could see like some sort of tunic.
Right. Like in the holiday special, they had those red robes on for their
Yeah, see, I could see that. And I mean, you have
weird.
seen that. Like
Yeah.
we haven't not
Right.
seen Wookiees wear clothes.
Right.
Like Wookiees do choose to take part in the social norms of
Right. Well,
other
like the Jedi
civilization.
Wookiee on the Acolyte. Didn't he
Yeah.
wear Jedi robes?
Yeah. Yeah, you wear Jedi robes
Yeah.
and some choose to partake in the cultures of their contemporaries
Right.
and others choose to traditionally wear nothing.
Nothing. Nothing.
And
I
I
mean, their hair
assume
covers stuff up.
they're animalistic. Maybe they've got retractable cocks.
Well, you know what's weird? Like,
Oh, here we go.
well, no, like, I don't know the details, but like, I know people have said, and I get this because as a creator, as a writer, a
You have to
storyteller,
think about
you
it.
think about these things. Like, how do they reproduce? It doesn't necessarily ever make its way onto the page or the screen, but in your
But
head, you know. And like George Lucas had apparently like talked to some people about just the details of the world and like Wookiees. Like maybe it was when they were making the holiday special and he had like notes. And he knows everything about Wookiee reproduction. And Gene Roddenberry famously talked about it on a record.
Hmm.
How Vulcans like Spock, how they fuck. Like how that all works. Because it's in his head, and if you're asking him to tell you about his child, this world, of course, that's in there. Like
Yeah.
it's interesting. But what I like getting back on track though, like what I liked about that though, that story, the Lederhosen story, like I want a painting of Chewbacca and Lederhosen
Oh, that'd be brilliant.
just as a reminder, fuck them. Like when everyone's telling you, no, you have to do this, you need to do that to conform to the way things are done. No, the Wookiee can be naked, you know? But like, I love that he told them no. He fought and fought and fought and fought and fought. He almost had a nervous breakdown making that movie because nobody got it. The actors didn't get it. Everyone thought it was going to fail. But it's like the whole fortune favors the bold thing. Like creativity is what, like the Barbie movie that recently blew up, like last year.
Years
It's because
ago.
people are starved for something original and bold.
Mhm.
And that it just, no one expected that from Barbie. But oh, like, but there you go. And that it was huge. And people flocked to it. It wasn't a sequel, it wasn't a reboot. It was actually unexpectedly brilliant and artistic. But like, yeah, but so George Lucas like fought the studios. He's fought the system his whole career to tell stories
Until
the
he
way
sold
he
it.
wants to tell them. Yeah, until then. But
He was
he was
tired.
pushing 80, like, and he
Yeah.
wanted to make sure his company survived, and he thought he could trust people. He couldn't, because they threw out
Script.
his story for how it
Yeah.
concluded. Like, um, but like, he's never won. Like, I think Star Wars was nominated for Best Picture, but it didn't win it, and I don't think ever won something like Best Director or anything like that because he's always been like this to the Academy, like middle fingers at full mast.
Hmm.
Like he does what he does. Like they wanted him to have opening credits on Star Wars. Apparently, if you're in the guild or whatever, you have to pay a fine if you don't put actors and certain people's names at the beginning of your film. And he didn't want to do that because it wasn't the artistic vision he had. He wanted title, opening crawl, here's where we are, here's what just you're in this world now. He didn't want that opening crawl and then to the side starring Mark Hamill as like none of that shit directed by George Lucas. It wasn't there. And after the first Star Wars he went indie. He's like, I'm rich now. Fuck the studios. And if you notice, that's when black people first show up in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Is the first movie he made as an indie filmmaker. That's when Asian people first show up in Star Wars. They didn't have any big roles, but they were there. Um, and he would do whatever he wanted. When he made the prequels, he didn't think they'd be successful because the story was too dark. But he did it anyway. But he was rich enough, and he was like, "But I'm going to make them all, whether they fail or not." He wasn't like it's like he made money as a side effect of
Yeah, no,
good
and he's
storytelling.
got that
But that
special
wasn't
cut.
his
He's got that
what
special
special.
cut of the like didn't he make a sequel Star Wars movie and he's just got it?
What? No, I haven't heard that.
I thought you were the one who told me that he had a special like he went along to make his own story or like he's got the script or something. Like
Oh, well, he
he's
might have a script,
I
but
thought he made it like just with like a small shoot or something. I don't know.
oh, I haven't heard.
But
I know he's still making films, but he's not releasing them publicly.
gotcha.
He makes the films he wants to make
Shows them to
to
his close
share. Yeah,
friends.
shows it to his friends. That's what he does, and that makes me insane because I want to see him.
Well, you gotta befriend George Lucas. And
Yeah,
what
I have to go hang
and
out
I
with him.
mean well, I mean, and your biggest hurdle there will be not frothing at the mouth when you meet him.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, you think you're different from most Star Wars fans, and you finally get in front of George Lucas, and you're just like, "Hi, uh, uh, uh,
Yeah, like
I'm
please tell me your version of the Star Wars
uh,
sequels.
I love your cock.
Please.
I mean, oh no,
Yeah,
no, just so you know that I know that you know, the 11 live action films together have been nominated for 37 Academy Awards, of which they have won seven. Star Wars
interesting.
live action films, the 11
Right,
live
like
action
they've
films.
won like for special effects for I think
Hmm.
soundtrack. The first one was
Art
nominated for Best
direction,
Picture, but like he wasn't nominated. Well, I don't know if he was nominated for. I don't think he was nominated for Best Director, but it's after he
Best
like
Original Screenplay and Best Director. He was nominated in
okay,
1978.
yeah, and that's before he turned on Hollywood
Mm.
and just did his own thing. Like
Oh yeah,
He worked with studios. Studios got to release his films, but they didn't have any say in
he
how
was
they were
never
made.
nominated again
Yeah, exactly.
in the Academy. He was never nominated again. He was
And he,
nominated for a Golden Globe for Best Director. Oh, that was also in
uh,
1978.
I think
Uh,
they gave him a lifetime achievement something like, but it wasn't for any
if they didn't,
particular
we did.
film. Right, true. But like, yeah, that's what I love about him because he gave no fucks that they were shunning him. He's like, I don't, he's not doing it for Academy Awards. He's an artist. Like that's what I love about him and all of his films. He's an artist and he's telling the story he wants to tell the way he wants to tell it. If you don't like Jar Jar, here's Jar Jar. You know, like fuck you. Like Dave
Uh,
Filoni on Clone Wars was always like when he wanted to do a Jar Jar episode, Dave Filoni was like, "Really? The Jar Jar?" And I love the Clone Wars actually made me love Jar Jar, honestly, because oh God, I was always like,
I
"Yes,
love
it's a
him.
Jar Jar
I love him,
episode."
but Jar Jar, I love Jar Jar as much as I love somebody else's 4-year-old child. Like he's cool
Right.
for about 30 minutes once
Well, yeah.
every month.
And you know that worked because Clone
Yeah.
Wars episodes were like 20 something minutes.
Yep. And you got
Every
about one
now
Jar
and
Jar a
again, you got a
season.
Jar Jar episode, and it was great.
Yeah. Star Wars as a film franchise has won the most Saturn Awards.
Interesting.
And George Lucas has cleaned up in there.
Okay, good.
Yeah, uh he won uh Best Director in 1978 for A New Hope. He
Mhm.
I say he won or he cleaned up. But okay, there he goes. He was nominated a few more times. There must have been other good science fiction movies coming out because I believe that's what the Saturn Awards
Okay,
is
I don't
all
know.
about.
I don't know what the Saturn Awards are for exactly. What
Presented
dis
by the Academy of
differentiates
Science
them?
Fiction, Fantasy, and
Okay.
Horror Films.
Okay, sweet.
Cool. The trophy looks rather phallic. Why do all of these Academy Awards and stuff always look so phallic?
Good
Um,
question. Good question. But yeah, I mean, that's all I really. I'm not going to go into Star Wars again for 3 hours. We did
all
that,
hair
but I
George
love
Lucas.
George Lucas because he's bold. He does what he wants to do. He's a visionary who isn't afraid to put his vision on the screen, regardless of the naysayers. You
Yeah,
know, and that has inspired me as a storyteller.
yeah.
My whole career because
He's the
it's like
film
I don't care
equivalent of
either.
Call It Like I See It. Like
Hmm.
he's gonna paint his picture, and you can go fuck yourself if you don't like it.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the best.
Exactly.
That's where it doesn't always produce the best art, but the best art usually comes from that standpoint.
Right, exactly.
You're not trying to impress, you're simply in the zone, so to
Right,
speak.
right. But don't get me started on Kevin Smith. It's your turn.
Who's Kevin Smith?
Well, it's your turn.
Yeah,
Well,
okay.
Kevin
Uh,
Smith is a film director as well. Right?
yeah, so I've got Spielberg here.
Hell yes.
And
Oh, George Lucas's best pal.
yeah, yep. And particularly, as I am a red-blooded American male, um,
Yeah, yep.
I and I'm now into my 30s. I've come to that crossroads where I'm either like really into war movies or like really into trains or like really into I don't know. Those are pretty much your two choices as
Uh-huh.
a post 30 male in America.
That's it.
Yeah,
That's all
and
you can
so
take
Saving
in.
Private Ryan, man,
Oh man.
just Saving Private Ryan, along with like Saving Private Ryan-esque films. So not just
Hmm.
Spielberg. Spielberg, we can make a whole episode on Spielberg.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and you know, I first watched Saving Private Ryan at way too young of an age,
Hmm.
um, to where it was boring past the D-Day invasion.
Yeah.
Um, but I've since watched that movie probably a dozen times now.
Hmm.
Still can't remember names. That's just a personal fault of mine.
Right. Well, one of
Um,
them was named Private Ryan. He was the one they were
yes.
looking for.
Yeah, so there were two Private
That's
Ryans.
the only name I remember.
Well, technically there were in the movie itself there were five Private Ryans
Oh, that's right.
because
That's right.
there was
That
one
was the whole reason. Yeah.
brother and then his three brothers died. So that's
Yeah, that
four
was the
Private
whole reason they were
Ryans.
trying to get him
And then
out.
but they find a different Private Ryan first, part of a different company.
Hmm.
And his name was like James L. Ryan, and they were looking for like James R. Ryan.
Right.
And they tell him that his brothers have died, and the dude that they first found was like, "What? How? Why?" And they were like 5 and 3 back home in the U.S. And
Yeah.
he thought that like his
That's so
younger brother
sad.
had died, and
Hmm.
somebody came all the way out to frickin' France to tell him that his two
Yeah.
younger brothers had died. But so yeah, there's a total of five Private Ryans in that movie. Actually, I don't know if his brothers held the rank of private or above,
Right, right.
but no, like that movie, like just as I've gotten older and had like more perspective on my life as a journey, um,
Uh-huh.
where like I'm able to think back to when I was 18. That's a whopping 12 years ago now.
Uh-huh.
And like the person I was then is not who I am now by a long shot. Like, you age so much in your 20s.
Hmm.
And I can say that having just freshly slid out the water slide that is your 20s. And like, you just take a huge sigh when you hit 30 and you're like, wow, that was like, whether you believe, age is just a number and all that or not, just as a
Hmm.
reflection standpoint, looking back now over the last decade, it's just like, fuck. I was
Yeah.
an
Yeah.
idiot.
Yeah.
I was an idiot. I was irresponsible. I made poor decisions left and right. I was practically,
Hmm.
we were all the kings of our own demise or the writers of our success.
Hmm.
And, in different arcs of my life through that, I was both successful and a failure. And, I mean, it's very, what do they say? Romanticized, but I mean, your 20s are about finding yourself.
Hmm.
And then when, people in their 30s who are like getting like freshly divorced and stuff, they're like, now I'm finding myself in my 30s. And it's because they may have like settled down too soon. They never took the time
Hmm.
to find themselves in their 20s. So I'm
Yeah.
immensely grateful that, for my experience. But when I watch war movies, particularly war movies set in the years of yesterday,
Hmm.
um, nothing modern. Uh, it haunts me to my core
Hmm.
when I see like a real, like a close depiction of the realities that were experienced back then. So like Saving Private Ryan, like Hacksaw Ridge, uh,
Oh yeah.
like 1917, and I mean, hell, even All Quiet on the Western Front,
Hmm.
which is from a different perspective. I still need to read that book. I watched the German movie. Amazing. Because it's the same thing I
Cool.
feel from the German side.
Uh-huh.
Those boys that were fighting as enlisted men were
Hmm.
not happy to be fighting after the fighting
Right.
started.
Right.
Like, the very first scene in that movie is a German boy with his German friends, and they're
Hmm.
going to sign up to fight for Mother Germany and or Father Germany, that's what they call it.
Yeah.
Or at least that's what they did call it. Uh, and the jacket, the uniform that he gets has the last guy's name still written on it. And it's been washed clean of all the blood and stuff and given out to the next man up. And then he
Hmm.
takes it back up. He's like, excuse me, this must be for someone else." And he's like, "Oh yeah, it happens all the time," and rips the tag off and then throws it in a pile of tags next to him, just to. And so, but yeah, no, that type of storytelling, that historical
Yeah.
storytelling, just. it hits a little different. Not to be sexist or anything. I don't think this is a
Hmm.
sexist thing, but just a disclaimer. It hits a little different for men.
Hmm.
Like because we would have died in those trenches.
Right.
Like I would have died
Right.
in those trenches in all likelihood.
Hmm.
Oh, I watched a Free State of Jones.
Mm.
That's
I don't
another
know
one.
that one.
That's the Matthew McConaughey based on a true story
Interesting.
where he was a Confederate defector
Huh.
who
That sounds
started his
fascinating.
own. He defected and got set up with some runaway slaves and started his own free army,
How the hell have
stir,
I never heard of this?
stirring up shit in Mississippi, in Jones County,
Cool.
Mississippi, and
Cool.
he eventually like more
I'm
defectors show up,
uh-huh.
and
Nice.
they're basically sick of the man taking their provisions, like coming to their
Hmm.
farms and taking their 10% for the war effort,
Right.
and but they take everything,
Yeah.
and he ends up allying with. There's some harsh language in there because it is. You get to hear Matthew McConaughey say the hard R about 40 times in that movie.
No doubt.
Um,
Well, and I value that in a period film. Don't, I mean, show
yeah,
us
don't
the
shy away.
blemishes. Yeah,
Hmm.
let us learn from history. Don't pretend it didn't happen.
Yep. And so like those types of historical movies, like war movies,
Hmm.
really paint a picture for me and do a number on my understanding of the world and my ability to empathize with veterans and not having served myself,
Hmm.
it definitely paints a picture that like yeah, maybe I mean 18 is incredibly young to go and die for your country because you don't even have
Hmm.
yourself figured out yet.
Right.
But I cannot argue with the validity that you are your most spry and teachable when you're about 18.
Mm.
And I can't move like I did when I was 18 now. I can make an attempt, but I might pull a hammy or something. When I was 18, I could sit on my ass all day, then hop up and go play a baseball game without any issue. Um,
Right.
and so, I mean, I understand it from a standpoint like that. But yeah, no, thank you, Spielberg, for introducing me to that genre with
Hmm.
probably it's probably the largest commercially successful war film, Saving Private Ryan.
I wonder.
Um,
There's so many war films, or historical war films in particular, I think is what you're talking about.
yeah, yeah. It's the second highest grossing film of 1998,
Mhm.
won many accolades. Um, doesn't appear to have any other things just listed on Wikipedia at least as what you deem to be success. I mean, you could look at the uh yeah, what did I say? 481 million in 1998. So who knows how much it's made nowadays, but
Right.
it's one of the most iconic. That's undisputable.
Yeah.
Um and my personal favorite. Um
Hmm.
but yeah, so I mean I've got some side points on there. I mean and sort of an homage to Saving Private Ryan was the Tarantino film Inglourious Bastards. It's basically the side story.
Oh, right. Wait, I did see
You
that.
did
That's
see
the
that one,
killing Nazis.
the killing
Killing.
Nazis one.
Yeah, I've been
Are
thinking
you
about
hiding
that
enemies of the
movie.
state with what's his name? That brilliant actor, the Jew hunter, as he's known
I
in the
can't
movie.
remember
I can't remember.
who played that character.
Uh, he's brilliant. Christoph Waltz.
Okay.
He also played essentially the White Knight in Django Unchained.
Which I still haven't seen.
Yeah, brilliant. When he was approached with that movie, Christoph Waltz, uh, told to be an SS Jew hunter,
Uh-huh.
uh, he said that he first, like, if I'm remembering correctly, he first was like, fuck no. And then he
Right.
read the script and he was like, as long as you don't change anything, because this is perfect.
Okay.
And yeah, so I mean, it was Inglorious Bastards is an amazing satire
Yeah, it's
piece,
great. It's
or I don't know
great.
if you call it satire or like comedic retelling,
Hmm.
fictional historical account
Yeah.
of Aldo the Apache and the God, what do they call themselves? They're like uh they're called like the Aldo's Indians or something, and it was just a
Uh,
bunch of American Jews that came over to fight for their European brethren, and boy, was that movie gory and powerful. I mean, you get to see two people in a burning theater with grease guns just
uh-huh.
empty lead into Hitler's lifeless body.
Right.
And I don't think there's any other film that gives you that sort of catharsis
Hmm.
when it comes to like killing Hitler.
Right.
Like it's literally two Jews standing over and they just show his body. You know, they got some sort of prosthetic body and it
Yeah.
just shows him being mangled by bullets until he's unrecognizable. And just imagine the movies they'll be making in 20 years from now. Anyway,
Right.
I wonder if
Yeah.
that'll get you bagged and dragged if you make a film, a satirical
Probably.
film.
I
Anyway,
mean, you know my character, my from those two short stories, the one when the
yeah,
purple
yeah.
Speedo with the cowboy hat. And
Mr. Man,
yeah,
as I call him.
I'm that guy. It's like he's like I have an idea for a third one that would be fairly cathartic and get me bagged and dragged. So I'm probably gonna write it if
Do
it
it.
comes together.
Do it.
Yeah.
Take a bunch of ivermectin, then write it while
Uh,
you're drooling on the page.
right, right. Nah, I'll write that sober if I write it and just sit down and write it. Those
More
are
like
some of the
when
rare,
you write it.
yeah. Because
Like you're talking about it now. Yeah.
the more this story starts to come together in my head. So, yeah. Wait, whose turn is it? Are you
It's
still, oh,
your
you're still
turn,
going.
buddy.
Is it? Is
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Okay. All
You can
right.
have the floor.
And you know, like, I mean, just to on Spielberg. I mean, I know that wasn't really like a Spielberg
No,
thing, but
no.
just to no, this isn't my I'm just commenting on what you started. The Spielberg, like he can make those movies like the Saving Private Ryan, the Schindler's List
Yeah.
kind of movies, but he can also make Indiana Jones and Hook and Jurassic Park. Like that's what I love about him as a storyteller is his range.
Diversity. Yeah, his
Yeah.
range.
Yeah. Like and his characters are so he has such nice little touches of characters. Like there's a scene in Jaws where like the police chief is just like he's stressed about his job. There's a shark eating people. The town politicians are wanting to cover it up, and he's wanting to go after the shark. And he's just sitting at home drinking his sorrows away, and there's this little kid. He looks over, and his youngest son is just like imitating his pose, and so he just starts going, hmm, and the little kid does it. And this is just adorable little moment in Jaws. And Spielberg, this is a little human moment, and Spielberg puts those in most of his films. Like E.T. is rife with them. Just
Yeah.
moments that it's like these are real people, these are relatable characters. I'm sucked in. I'm sold. I'm in this movie now. But yeah, just that's my comment on Spielberg. Before I talk about the other filmmakers that I was going to talk about a minute ago, Kevin Smith.
Oh, that's
Again,
right. We have talked about him.
hmm
Yeah. No,
yeah. Talking about another bold ass indie filmmaker.
yeah.
Man, I love Kevin Smith. Um,
He's uncancelable.
Uncancelable. I mean, and he's like the voice of my generation, in my opinion. Like he's a very, very Gen X storyteller. And like his characters are so real and relatable. Like the dialogue in his films, like it's just I know these people. These are the people I grew up with. Yes, people talk like that. Like his dialogue, just riddled with profanity. Like the characters talk like people talk, and that was one of the big things that they said about Clerks, his first film when it was released, was that's one of the standout things about it is that he was hell bent that his characters were going to talk like people talk, not like they talk in the movies or in books, but how they really talk, and they say a lot of filthy, filthy stuff. Um, and they have a lot of fanboy talks. Like I just love his characters, but also he's another one like who I find validating, I guess. Kind of like Sindak, where I like the storytellers who don't give a damn who's telling them they can or can't do it this way or that way. But he did this great, and I don't know if we've talked about it on here before. I know I have talked about it, where there's this it's a live show that he did, and it was on Netflix for a while, and it was called Burn in Hell. Kevin Smith, Burn in Hell. And it was after he made this film called Red State. And if you can imagine from the title,
Hmm.
there was some protesting to this film. And it was basically about a Westboro Baptist church type church and a type preacher like that. And it was a horror film about Christianity. Basically, it was so good. But yeah, so he did this live thing called Burn in Hell where he was talking about that movie. But he really was just talking about filmmaking and storytelling and how and why, he was, and one of the things he said that I think really resonated with me, like he was encouraging people who have a creative spark or something they want to do, do it. Don't wait for a perfect moment, do it. Just make yourself do it, because that's what he did. Like he sold his comic book collection to finance Clerks.
Yeah,
Um,
I was gonna say he was dedicated.
yeah. And like, but
He wanted to say something so desperately that he's
right.
willing to
He
part with
had
one of his
to.
treasures.
Right.
And I
Right.
mean, we're talking about these storytellers and like, man, some of the best like sell their souls. Like
Uh-huh.
there was no alternative.
Right.
Like they would have gone off the rails or been beaten down into nothingness if they didn't
Yeah.
get their stories out.
Uh-huh.
And I
Yeah.
mean, that's a sort of, creationistic.
I
I
mean,
don't
it's
know if that's
going
a
in
word.
the Autodidactica
Yeah,
dictionary.
yeah, the
It's a word. It's a word
Autodidactionary.
now.
Yeah. I think I used all the right phonetic terms in there, creationistic.
Yeah, it works for
But
me.
uh that's the sort of passion would be the better word. Uh
Right.
that that, that sort of separates the do's from the don'ts.
Mm-hmm.
And the ones that do are the ones that sell their comic book collections to
Mm-hmm.
fund their stories, or
Mm-hmm.
they, divorce their wife to win their eighth Super Bowl, like like Tom Brady, lost
Right.
sacrificed his family to go down in history as the best there ever was.
Uh-huh.
I'm sure many creators can relate to that, to where they
Right.
put their art out there and above all else
Mm-hmm.
their own the detriment of their financial standing, their
Mm-hmm.
relationships, their health
Right.
most often. I
Right.
mean, not to take away from Kevin Smith, the floor is yours, but like manga artists are notorious
Oh,
for dying
yeah.
from overwork,
Mm-hmm.
um, because of deadlines and
Yeah. Yeah.
just the sheer volume of content creation they have to do in order to
Hmm.
stay relevant and published.
Hmm.
And I'm sure American comic book artists operate largely the same. I'm
Right.
sure they have,
Well, I don't think to the degree that the Japanese ones do,
really. I mean, you would know.
honestly.
I don't pay attention to
Well, I don't
American.
think because I'm thinking of just the Japanese. What I little I know as someone who's never been to or worked in Japan, what I hear and read, which may or
You're
may not
sleeping
be
under a
accurate,
desk.
is yes, is the Japanese work culture is
Brutal.
much more like we think it's brutal here, and it is, and getting more so, but over there it's way more brutal.
Yeah, they're all about that rise and grind.
Hmm.
And side note, do you know the name of Kevin Smith's daughter?
Harley Quinn.
Harley Quinn.
Hell yeah. 'Cause he's a huge comic and he's written some great comic books too. Kevin Smith. Like, he's written Batman, he's written Daredevil, he's written his own original comics based on his film characters.
She's been in a lot of his stuff too.
She has, and she's branched out.
Yeah.
Um, she's been in some more stuff, and she's best friends with Johnny Depp's daughter. Let's do celebrity gossip now. But
Celebrity
and
gossip.
they were both in a couple of his films. Two or three of them, I
Hmm.
think.
Interesting.
Um, yeah. And Johnny Depp was in a couple of his films, like the weirdest ones, and one of the best ones, like Tusk, is one of my all-time favorite films. And I try to get people to understand this, that it's so worth watching. And yes, it is about, it is about a man getting surgically altered into a walrus.
Oh, stop. Say less. I'm in.
It's so legitimately brilliant in my mind. Like, that's one of those things. I went to an art house cinema to see this very small release film when it came out. And I was just I fell in love with that film because of its originality. It's like no one's gonna green light a film like that in a big studio. No one's gonna be like, okay, so you want to make a movie about a
About that South
man who
Park
gets,
episode.
yeah, like, God. But it sounds absurd, and it is, but it's more brilliant. Like, it's so brilliant just in its uniqueness that it's not copying anything. It's so good and crazy, and I don't know. I can't do it enough justice. Like, I love Tusk. I love Kevin Smith. But yeah, like back to the his Burn in Hell thing, which if you can find that somewhere, I recommend watching it. Just because like his whole take on the creative process, like a line he said in there that I just always keep with me is tell the stories that no one else can tell. Like there's stories that only you can tell. And that's what he does. Like his stories are based on his experience in life, like his friends, his family, his story bleeds into his work and very deliberately. That's where an
Yeah.
artist processes their experience is through their work. But like, there's like especially in like modern Hollywood, there's this whole do that again kind of mindset. It's
Yeah.
like let's
Let's make
remake,
six of them.
reboot, let's yeah. And it's like you don't really have the freedom to make something like Tusk or Clerks or even, you know, to make the next Star Wars, not literally, but the next breakout original blockbuster film that no one has ever seen anything like. No one wants to greenlight that because they just want to play it safe. They want the same old shit. Um, But that's kind of what he was talking about. Like, don't do that. Don't make his movie, make your movie. Tell the story that only you can tell. And I think that's a really powerful philosophy, a powerful way of approaching storytelling is how do I tell this story in a way that no one else can? Like you can tell the same story. You can give two people a prompt or an outline, say, give them a full outline of a story and say, write a story. And you would hope they both tell very different stories if they go with it that way. Like, okay, how do I take this outline and tell a story that only I can tell? How can I tell this story the way that only I can tell it? And
Yeah.
that's how you do something original and artistic. Like his artistic integrity is like top notch. Kevin Smith, love him. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, an example of that sort of happened in the manga Domestic Girlfriend when Natsuo was in that competition with Basaru,
Uh-huh.
where they were like, he was like, "You're a failure as a novelist, and I'll show you that I'm better." Then
Yeah. Yeah. I love
Kiria
that story.
gives them a contest, and he didn't give them an outline. They just gave them a genre to write a short story, no more than like what was it? I don't remember how many characters they said, but it was like 50,000 characters or something. So like,
Yeah.
you know, like just a short story length, and it had to be science fiction. And the the hothead
Right.
Big Mouth wrote this like amazing like world building epic akin
Right.
to Star Wars,
Uh-huh.
but it lacked in all character imagery and things
Right.
like that. Whereas Natsuo wrote an interesting page turner about the alien next door. And
Yeah.
it's just two like apartment neighbors, and the human realizes that his neighbor is an alien. And so it's just this interesting little story that's much easier. And so, but both of them wrote stories that only they could tell. Basaru
Right.
was a little more influenced by other works
Mm-hmm.
and not his own writing, which that was the sort of point of uh that panel or that chapter was that Natsuo has been writing he's been writing story after story, so he's referencing his own works. He's telling the story only he can tell because he's not referencing other writers. He's referencing his other writings, which were referenced by his other writings, which were referenced by other writers. Like, he's taking his inspirations from his idols, repeatedly making them his own, and then telling the story only he can tell. George
Mm-hmm.
Lucas didn't just write Star Wars one day. I'm
Right.
sure I'm sure he's like lots of other storytellers has been telling stories since he was a child.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and that story lived with him for years before he actually wrote a final script, just like, they gestate for a while before they come out. Oh, but what were you?
Yeah, no, I mean that happens all the time. I mean, it happened in and that's what I was talking about. Those people that are that passionate, they have to get it out. It eats away
Mm-hmm.
at them for years. They've got this
Mm-hmm.
story in their mind for years
Yeah.
and years.
Yeah.
And they've got naysayers, people that say, yeah, it can't be
Mm-hmm.
done, don't throw your life away. You're in college now. Wait until you graduate, get your degree, then maybe you can think about writing your silly little script. And,
Mm-hmm.
so I mean, there's all sorts of naysayers. And I mean, we've talked about this here and there before on different topics, but like particularly the utopia topic,
Mm-hmm.
um just imagining a world without want. Like, I can't imagine myself writing a story. I'm not the best musician there is. I play music, I've got tons of guitars.
Mm-hmm.
I am self-diagnosed ADHD,
Mm-hmm.
and I tend to pick one thing up and then get distracted by another thing. One week I'm writing lyrics and poems, and the next week I'm drawing on my iPad, and the next week I'm practicing for 3 hours a day on my guitar, and the
Mm-hmm.
next week I rot in my room and play video games. Like I can't stick to one damn thing. That's my probably my biggest
Right.
flaw as a creative. Um, and I think it's because I was meant to do all of those things. I probably am a creative,
Right.
like at my core, but I have to work for 9 to 12 hours a day,
Yeah.
5 days a
Yeah.
week, sometimes weekends. And so,
Uh-huh.
like, I only have so much time to explore. Otherwise, I
Hmm.
probably would be painting and writing and playing music
Right.
all damn day,
Uh-huh.
if my other needs were taken care of. And it makes you think if everyone was taken care of, how many more? Because it's easy to say that like you just pointed out, how storytelling nowadays is all about recyclable material.
Hmm.
How many different ways can we tell the same story, or how many different times can we continue the same boring story and
Hmm.
just keep making money off of it? And
Right.
when it comes to music, everybody's based on somebody. Everybody sounds like
Hmm.
this, that, and the other. It's oversaturated. Some people would say that the music scene is oversaturated with the
Hmm.
advent of the internet and streaming platforms and YouTube and whatnot. And then, the filmmaking environment is oversaturated due to Netflix and the ability to just buy
Hmm.
pretty decent camera gear on your own budget and make low budget films,
Yeah.
so anybody can make film now. And
Hmm.
especially with YouTube, hey everybody.
Yeah.
Uh, and so people will say, "Oh, it's saturated, it's oversaturated, and all of that."
Hmm.
But if we really had like time to just tell stories and just focus on what our passions were, imagine how creative the world could be.
Oh, I
Um,
know.
what set? I mean, I know, you know, like I called you before, you're a whore for human potential.
Right,
Um,
right. Absolutely.
and it's interesting to me what you said a moment ago, and now I'm blanking. To tell the story only you can tell. If two people were
Hmm.
given the same outline, how wildly different would their stories be? And I'm just like, imagine if 7 billion carefree people were given the same thing.
Hmm.
How there'd be 7 billion stories. And
Yeah.
now I likely will never be able to consume 7 billion individual
Right, right.
stories. Um, and I mean, that's true now. There are more movies on this earth than I will ever have
Oh
the
yeah.
time to
There's
see.
yeah, for real.
And so, we rely on our own, on our friends' recommendations and our algorithms now,
Hmm.
to point us in the directions of films we will really enjoy and resonate with.
Yeah.
And for that, I am thankful. I do get a lot of decent recommendations, not just from friends, but from my algorithm. I've got a pretty
Uh-huh.
decent one, I guess. I do see a lot of independent films, or when I can't help but look up actors. I'll never remember their names, which is why
Right.
I look them up every time I see them. Uh, but it
Yeah.
leads me to look up other stuff they've been in, just like I was just talking about with V for Vendetta. You
Hmm.
know, that guy's probably got some other stuff that I'd probably enjoy.
Yeah.
But yeah, what else do I have here? I've got Starship Troopers.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That is a fun bit of satire.
Hmm.
Um, and I was doing a little Googling over here, so I could be a little more correct when I go over Starship Troopers briefly, because there's not much to say about
Right.
it.
I
It's
mean,
just,
I always refer to it as that movie with the co-ed shower scene.
oh, brilliant.
That's a
That was an easy one to
co-ed.
bust to as a 10-year-old. Um, Canceled. No, not my most difficult nut. Uh,
Right, you're
that would have
canceled. I'll be
been
here by myself next week or
yeah,
next
no,
month.
that
Oh
my
well.
most difficult nut would probably be the Alien
Jeez.
Resurrection.
Oh right,
Uh,
yeah. I'm sure that was difficult. Yeah.
yeah. the
Yeah,
fucked up
because that thing
clones.
was not, and I thought you were talking about the baby thing at the
No, not the
end.
baby thing, you
That was an
weirdo.
easy one. That was an
No,
easy
that
one,
was an
right?
easy one. Yeah, it was nice and cute. Um, Covered in afterbirth the whole time. He was very
Right.
moist.
Oh, ugh.
But no, Starship Troopers with the co-ed shower scene. Uh, I had to do a little research because just a quick Google because the book and the movie are different.
I've
They're the
heard that. I
same.
haven't read the book.
The book is pro-authoritarianism,
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
whereas the movie is more of a satirical rendering of the book. The movie makes
Hmm.
fun of the book.
I see.
Um, and the movie is very anti-war and
Right.
very
Right.
satirical, like propaganda. Like,
Uh-huh.
the whole movie is all about a warring society, like a very pro-war society. And all of the little commercials that are displayed to the audience as commercials within the film
Yes.
are just brilliantly
Yeah,
done
they are.
because it's like watching Fox News, or at least
Right.
what Fox News used to be. Now it's Fox Entertainment Network,
Right.
but
So they don't get sued for calling
so they
it the
don't get,
news.
yeah,
And
it's still the
still the
same
people who
content.
watch it don't
No,
understand.
no,
It's not the news.
and
It's
so they
bullshit.
they'll be like, yeah, kill the bugs, and it'll have like videos of like kids like stomping on roaches back at home. Yeah,
Yeah.
talking about how like you can fight too right here, and it's like, do you want to know more? And it'll tell you to go
Hmm.
to the website to enlist. And
Uh-huh.
at the very start, he gets infantry. His other two friends are like one of them's going to like special command, the other one's going to like the Navy, and he goes into the infantry. And the dude is
Hmm.
handing him his paper, looks him up and down, and says, good for you, son. The infantry made me what I am today. And he's like got a robotic arm and like
Right.
two robotic legs and a
Uh-huh.
missing eye. And like,
Yep.
this is like, good luck out there. And like, the movie's like sort of like Kill Bill. It's a little over the top
Hmm.
when people die. Like people get like cut in half by these insects. And the insects in the book are supposed to represent commies and the
Hmm.
Reds. And yeah, no, just a great story that like if you're smart enough to understand the satire, it's
Yeah.
uh it's a great, commentary on if your society ever looks like this, you better say oh shit.
Right.
Like
Right. For real.
and we are heading there. And our country
Scary
is
times.
becoming what it looked like in Starship Troopers.
Hmm.
Um, and to where everybody who's not a white American are the bugs.
Right. Right.
Because I can't even say naturalized Americans because our president's trying to get rid of that. Um,
Right. Right.
Wild,
It's
wild.
insane where we're at. It is insane. But, like I feel like storytelling plays a very important role in navigating history as you're in it. Just like things like we were talking about like science fiction in particular, and how it's a safer place to examine the present, in coded ways.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so I feel, there are satires. There's V for Vendetta. It's stuff like, oh, this is fiction. This is totally made up. But you watch it and you think about the world you currently inhabit. You relate
Right.
to
That movie was
fictional
made in
stories.
2007,
Hmm.
and it is relevant almost 20 years later. Like
So
much
relevant.
less dark things were happening in 2007
Right.
that have now
Right.
been
Like,
the scab has been picked at since the 90s
mhm.
essentially, or since the Cold War really.
Yeah.
But like shit is way worse today than it was in
Way
2007,
worse.
and the movie is more fucking relevant than it's ever been.
Hmm. Yeah.
And so like called it like, hey, world, here's this movie about a dystopian society. We should
Hmm.
avoid reenacting this movie IRL. And what do
Yeah.
we have today? The fucking embodiment of the movie is running
Right.
the world essentially.
Yeah, for real. And like like I keep thinking of Revenge of the Sith lately. Like watching that presidential address and all the Republicans are
The main thing
cheering
was
and
that Palpatine was intelligent.
USA, USA. Yeah, that was the difference. But there are people pulling Trump's strings, like
Yes.
that's what makes it scary. But like, and I keep thinking of that line, the most potent line in
Yep.
Revenge of the Sith. You know what I'm talking
I know
about.
exactly what you're talking about.
So this is how liberty dies, with thunderous applause.
Yeah.
Like terrifies me. That's the line I was thinking of anyway.
That's the line I was thinking of.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, you don't, say it for the people in the back, but,
Right.
I mean, it's just like during that union address,
Uh-huh.
the Democrats were so tame in their protest.
Like, yeah, I was
That's
wanting
what,
them to keep going. When they started booing him and like over and he had to stop, he stopped speaking, and I'm like, yes, go for
yes,
it, do it. Boo him out the
beat him
fuck
with a
of the
cane.
place. Right. God. He deserves
Yeah,
he's gonna stand up there and lie and vilify minority group. Get him the fuck out. Don't listen to it. Don't sit there and take it. But
speak
yeah, I
whatever
was
he saw on
disappointed.
Fox and Friends,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
talking
But
about
they just
transgender
didn't.
mice.
Yeah. So I was disappointed they didn't do it again
Do
and
more.
again and
These are
again.
these are our
They should have
elected
wrecked his
officials
shit. Yeah.
that should be
Represent
they,
us.
they represent us.
We're
Like
pissed
we are
off.
pissed off, and it's their job to be pissed off on our behalves. But nope,
Exactly.
they make 170K a year from just
Right.
sitting there. They're not going to, you know, do anything too crazy because then they
Hmm.
won't get reelected because there aren't
Right.
any term limits. So there's no urgency within the houses
Hmm.
to be a whistleblower.
Yeah.
There's very little urgency because as absolute power corrupts absolutely. Whether or
Hmm.
not a senator has absolute power, they have more than the average man by about 100-fold at least, and they are comfortable. And it's easy to say as I have never written a letter to my senator. I've never even crafted. I think I did an
I
email one
have.
time. Um, when I was like in Boy Scouts or something.
Uh-huh.
I think I also wrote to my senator once about some like veganism shit back when I
Hmm.
was a angsty teenager,
Right.
and
Good for you. Good for you.
you know, uh, I can't remember who it was that I wrote to. Whoever was running, it was to Texas. One of our like our local representative,
Uh-huh.
whoever
Oh
that
yeah,
was.
see, I wrote to Senator Cornyn, who's still around.
Yeah, which is insane. Yeah, insane.
He's a I don't like him. I didn't vote for him.
Yeah,
Leave it at that.
yeah.
I did not vote for
Have the
that
day
man.
you voted for is one of my favorite phrases right now. Complain
What?
about have the day you voted for.
Oh, hey.
Uh, like this is an excellent phrase for all of your relatives whenever they're pissing you off and they're
Right.
going through tough times. You can tell them to have the day they voted for. If they're
Right.
complaining about their friend who got fired from his
Hmm.
federal job by
Or
the
laid off
person or
because
laid off,
the economy went to
they can't
shit and we're in
they
a
can't afford
depression.
eggs.
Uh-huh.
Have the day you voted for. You get toast for breakfast with no eggs
Hmm.
because you can't afford them on your deunionized job in a coal
Right.
mine while you suffer from the
Right.
black lung. And
Jeez.
the black lung in 2025 is insane. Like
Yeah.
coal in
Yeah.
2025 is insane.
Hmm.
And the people that are coal miners are not stupid. They are
Right.
not stupid. Trump will tell them that they're stupid.
Yeah.
indirectly.
Right,
He
right.
will say that you have to keep your job because I don't feel like providing the federal funding to train you to do anything else.
Right. Right.
And so you will keep your coal mining job because it makes me look like I care about you.
Mm-hmm.
When in reality, I know you're dying from this,
Right.
and I know you have the ability and potential to operate machinery that could
Mm-hmm.
mine coal if we so wanted to.
Right.
But you do not get that sort of support because I want tax cuts for my billionaire friends.
Mm-hmm. That's
And
all they're about. Wayland Yutani, Sith Lord motherfuckers.
yeah, and you know, and they're not even the Sith Lords. That's the thing is like in this
Right.
parallel, the politicians are the senators
Yeah,
in a
exactly. The
and the
greedy.
corporations are the
Uh-huh.
Palpatines.
Right, exactly.
Like Trump ain't smart enough to pull all this shit off.
No.
He's just a a Putin puppet
Yeah,
and
clearly.
sold off to the highest buyer.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Yep.
you got another storyteller?
I
Because I got
mean,
one
I
in.
have. Oh, you got one?
Yeah, I got one in the chamber.
Okay. I mean, see, I've got a lot. Like, I don't know if I can
No, we can't make a
actually
10-hour
say
video.
exactly. Like, there's so many I can just popcorn some real quick because, like, I would love to spend an hour talking about all of these people, like, John Ostrander, who's a comic book writer who really, I loved his storytelling. On especially his run on DC Comics, The Spectre, who became one of my all-time favorite DC universe characters because of John Ostrander, because he just writes, he's bold in his storytelling and he's good. Like he keeps you coming back. He tells really bold stories with, you know, ancient characters from like the 1940s, and he gives them life and relevance. And he wrote Star Wars Legacy, which was a comic book series set like about around a century and a half after the original trilogy. Very bold story. So good. One of my all-time favorite Star Wars stories. Like I just love I love him for that. I love him for his storytelling audacity that he's not afraid. He doesn't hold back. He doesn't pull his punches. And and he understands the material like because he's writing other people's characters, but in a way that only John Ostrander could do it. I could talk about Dickens and how he writes characters that, you know, as a writer who likes to write in different time periods myself, I love the way Dickens writes people. I love the way he writes characters because it shows me that I know these people in the 1840s. Like, people are the same throughout time. You know, that's what I learned from Dickens. Like, he's
Yeah.
funny. He's funny. Like, because you read that, you know
Yeah,
these
we've been
crazy,
make
crazy people he's writing about in the 1840s, and you're like, I know this person.
No, dude, they
Like,
were
they're
making fart
ridiculous.
jokes in
Yeah,
hieroglyphics.
right. Humans don't change core, like what we
Farts are
are, like our
funny.
personalities. Yes. Yes. Benjamin Franklin wrote that. Wasn't it a pamphlet, Fart Proudly? I just,
Yeah, yeah.
like, I mean, yeah, like humans are humans. It's not like you'll go back in time and everyone was just stuffy and proper all the time. Like, people were people. And that's one thing I really adore about Dickens. Um, It's just that he proves that. So when I write in time periods, I keep that in mind. Like, I'm going to write a character in a different time period, but based on the people I know in this time period, because we all existed back then. All of our personalities were somewhere, you know? Like, just like, you know, how today the people who would have been opposed to ending slavery. We still have those characters.
Yeah.
You know, they just have
Hell,
different names.
some of the original senators that voted against all that shit are just now passing away.
Practically.
Yeah, and some of them are still in office.
Yeah.
Not
But
really. I
like
don't think so.
not really, but like, the character type, it's the same. We have the same kinds of bad guys and heroes and joke jesters, like the human personalities are timeless. And that's what I love about Dickens and Rice. You don't know. Okay, I think that was my popcorn. I wanted to talk about maybe the book of Genesis, the stories of David, but those aren't really storytellers so much as just stories.
Right.
But I think like if I mean, you can count my turn as the popcorn if you got one in the chamber. I could do Anne Rice after that.
Okay. I've got another musician here, or rather a music group.
Uh-huh.
Um, Enter Shikari. They're
Oh
a
yeah.
UK band. Um, Largely genre bending. They
Uh-huh.
verge on they're like electronic metal, essentially. Electronic post-hardcore, whatever you could define them a million different ways, but they are pretty genre fluid. Um,
Yeah.
and they got their start in a youth group
Nice.
in the UK.
Uh-huh.
They were playing to their youth group mates before they ever took a professional stage.
Uh-huh.
And their original stuff was all about global warming and stuff. Their debut album was Take to the Skies, and you know, it included like aliens under the ocean and all sorts of stuff that was just sort of fun, uh, but lots of it had deeper meanings. I didn't really
Yeah.
get too into them until their second album, which was called Common Dreads.
Uh-huh.
The very telling name. They plenty of anti-war sentiment throughout the
Uh-huh.
album, but in particular, I'm quite fond of the last song on the album called "Fanfare for the Common Man, Conscious Man." And it starts off with just like a fun little narration going, each nation used to provide its country with security, with factories providing arms for their country. Now, multinational companies compete in the arms trade to serve any customer, maximizing the money to be made. So, just as farms compete to provide fruit for other countries so people can live to enjoy the taste of nature, national warehouses compete to provide arms around the world to aid death and all hell unfurled. And then he goes on to actually start singing, saying, "Our gracious queen should grasp her crown and take a
Mm-hmm.
good fucking swing at Blair and Brown for leading her country into illegal warfare and trying to pass it off that we're doing it because we care." And keep in mind,
Oh,
this is the
nice.
British um, Empire, the former British Empire,
Uh-huh.
doing it because they care. And then he quotes somebody saying, and he always like, Enter Shikari is notorious for doing a pompous voice. Like they do a lot
Mm-hmm.
of vocalizations
Yeah.
that are supposed to be the other guys,
Mm-hmm.
the the fat cats and whatnot.
Right.
And so he goes, now preemptive wars are a redemptive cause. And then he goes on to say, I've never heard such nonsense under international laws. We think we have the right to enforce democracy when we're weakening ours every day. What a hypocrisy. And
Nice. Nice
yeah,
line.
so that's just 2009 bangers. And then they released probably their most charged album to date, which was A Flash Flood of Color, which is just pissed off about the state of the world. And they
Nice.
tell an amazing story throughout this whole thing. The first two tracks, I honestly hate it when bands do this, but the first track is like leads into the second track. I just
Oh,
wish they were
yeah.
one track stitched together because
Right.
it's always a bummer when it comes up in shuffle and it's just the
The second
intro,
part or the
or
yeah,
the second
the
part is
intro.
fine because I can recollect the first part,
Okay,
but
gotcha. Yeah.
hearing the first part without the second part, it just
Hmm.
feels like I'm getting cucked. And
Yeah.
but they wrote a song called Stalemate, which I won't read the whole thing like I just did, even though I could be convinced to. Um, but just the first two stanzas, and I'll throw in the chorus, it's two lines. Uh, Previous wars made billionaires out of millionaires. Today's wars make trillionaires out of billionaires. Tomorrow's wars will fuel generations of hate. I'm losing my grip on reality. I cannot simply agree that we are civilized. Acting like this earth is infinite is a chessboard of lies that will generate stalemate. It will
Hmm.
generate stalemate. And then the chorus is just him saying, "So, yes, I've gone to the hills again. So, yes, I've gone away." And sort of highlighting his disillusion with how you and I often feel, where it's just like, this is too fucking much. The world fucking sucks.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're going downhill fast, and I just need to
Hmm.
go to the hills again. And
Yeah.
for Rue, I've actually looked into what he means by that. His family has like a cottage out in the sticks in the
Oh,
UK, and
nice.
that's where he does a lot of his deeper writing. Like he will just go to the hills, is what he calls it. Like when
Nice.
society gets too much for him, he has a retreat. And we all have a retreat.
Hmm.
Or we all need one if we don't have one. And when you
Yeah.
are without retreat, it can get a little brutal to be without any sort of retreat, your hills per se. Enter Shikari is my hills. You know,
Hmm.
So yes, I've gone to the hills again. Basically means yeah, I blasted Enter Shikari all day today,
Hmm.
and so that I mean that's a brilliant one. And then the last tidbit, I'll this whole album is amazing. Arguing with Thermometers is all about politicians
Hmm.
turning a blind eye to climate change, or
Hmm.
rather, what is the proper term for it nowadays? It's like the human impact on climate change is the
Yeah.
more politically correct term because we have to keep revising it because people keep poking holes in just the term instead of taking a look
Right.
at what the
Yeah,
term is
exactly. They're not
talking
looking at the
about.
problem, they're looking at semantics.
Yes. So
And
when we
it's
say
like,
climate
yes,
change, they're just like,
humans,
the climate changes all the time. It happens every 1,000 years. And we're like, yes, what we're talking about human impact on climate change.
right,
So
which is
there,
making it happen faster and sooner and to a
yeah,
more extreme degree.
yes.
Like,
And
yes,
so,
the climate will change over time,
so like global
but
warming is what we called it initially because the globe is warming. That's the main
mhm,
problem right now. And they're like, yes, but sometimes it cools. But it goes through warming and cooling. Okay, yes, we'll call it climate change. And they're like, yeah, but the climate changes all the time. And then, see my last rant just a second ago.
right,
Uh,
right. No, exactly
Basically,
though. They
the
don't
name
want to
keeps
deal
having
with
to
the
get
actual
politicized.
issue. Let's talk about the name.
Yeah, so arguing with thermometers, beautiful.
Nice.
Uh, this is an expedition into the Arctic tundra. This is from he's doing this in a vocalization, talking like he
Hmm.
almost sounds like a snake. He almost sounds like
Hmm.
what's that guy's name? Commander Cobra in
Oh,
frickin' G.I.
G.I.
Joe.
Joe.
Yeah, and so he's doing a
Guy.
vocalization to sound like a snake, and he's saying, "So this is an expedition into the Arctic tundra. This is a sickening mission, yeah, just to spoil and plunder." And he's British, so he says, "Spoil and plunder." And
Nice.
then he sings and he says, "That's the sound of another door shutting in the face of progress. They'll plant their flags in the seabed. Shackleton is rolling in his grave." I assume Shackleton is probably some,
An
uh,
explorer,
yeah, yeah. And
I
then
think. Yeah.
the pre-drop, he goes, he's talking the voice of a consumer almost, is what it sounds like to me.
Uh-huh.
He's like, yeah, 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 we're all addicted to the most abused and destructive drug of all time, and I ain't talking about class A's, what the UK calls Schedule Ones. I
Yeah.
ain't talking about class A's. That business is minuscule when compared. And just like any addict desperate to get his next fix, we resort to committing crimes to secure our next hit. Um, then he goes on to talk in the pompous voice, saying, there's oil in the ice. There's oil in my eyes. There's blood on my hands. Yeah, we're all addicted. Yeah, we're all dependent. And then he goes on to say a mocking another vocalization. These are all different vocalizations,
Uh-huh.
which is off-putting to the average listener, I will say. Like trying to get
Hmm.
somebody in to enter Shikari, they're like, what in the hell? Like this sounds like a demon speaking through somebody with the amount of voices. Because he goes on to this is like a mocking news anchor going, that's a maniac standpoint, a psychotic outlook. That's a maniac standpoint, a psychotic outlook. He just repeats that in a vocalization, talking about how when you try to bring up climate change on any conservative news outlet, that's
Hmm.
what they say. And then he goes on to say, so let me get this straight. As we witness the ice caps melt, instead of being spurred into changing our ways, we're going to invest into military hardware to fight for the remaining oil that's left beneath the ice. But what happens when it's all gone? You haven't thought this through, have you, boys? And
Hmm.
yeah, so I mean, all that whole album just brilliant, and just resonates with me
Uh-huh.
as a story consumer. And I'm a very avid story consumer. Um, Honestly, it's somewhat detrimental to my life, as many of
Yeah.
my close peers know, that I abuse my body with sleeplessness just
Hmm.
to get my next hit of storytelling, be it through anime or movies or manga or music
Hmm.
or video games. God, I'm a slut for a good story.
Yeah, no, my favorite English professor in college, Dr. Northcutt was her name. Like one of the things she said that I a quote from her in my head that lives in my head constantly forever is that humans are addicted to narrative.
Yes.
I'm like, that's what
Yes.
you're telling me. You're telling me that you are addicted to narrative.
No, and like what I really feel like is my my biggest flaw in life, I think, is that I just don't have enough time.
No, yeah, yeah, true.
Um,
That's all of us.
because I feel like what I'm really addicted to is perspective.
Interesting.
Like narrative is the medium by which I expand my perspective.
Ah,
And
good.
I feel like I spend so much time expanding my perspective that I never actually have a chance to apply my perspective. Like I
I
feel like
see.
that's where like, well, at least I've got all my books and then I break my glasses or something like that.
Right.
And like I feel like I just don't have I will die so knowledgeable and so like zen and full of perspective and wisdom without ever
Hmm.
actually having uh uh impactfully applied it is like one of my
Right.
fears in my life is like I just get older and I consume and I consume and I consume and I broaden and I broaden and I broaden and it makes
Uh-huh.
me a decent guy to be around, don't get me wrong. We can have great conversation no matter who you are for the most part. uh
Uh-huh.
I do get a little ranty, I will say that. uh I do yap. uh but yeah, no, that I mean that's I love stories.
Well, that's good because that's kind of the topic, right?
Yeah.
I love stories too. They're great. This was
Wait,
are
you're
you
gonna
good
talk
with that?
about yeah, you were gonna talk about Ayn Rand or whatever her communist self
Not Ayn
was.
Rand, Anne Rice.
Oh, right.
Very, very different people.
I said that on purpose, just for the audience. Although I have made that mistake before.
Right, right.
Um,
You know, it's weird that Ayn Rand comes up a lot in my life for some reason. Like different people over the years who have read Ayn Rand and or Ayn Rand is how you say
yeah,
it. And loved her. Like I've been bought, what is it, the Fountainhead? It's like thick as hell, like more than once, and I still haven't read it. I tried, I just didn't get into it, but I don't know why. But like, she's kind of a known for being what I would hope is the antithesis of my life philosophy, but I'm constantly having people tell me, "You should read Ayn Rand. You sound like Ayn Rand." And I'm like, "What? How?" But I think it's just because she talks about individualism and
Yeah, no, it's probably
stuff like because I
more
haven't
your
read her.
yeah, it's probably more your delivery of your thoughts that is a little more like when you're speaking, that is a little more like
Hmm.
in your face,
Hmm.
sort of. Because from
And
what I
I don't
remember from
care
what
what
I've
other people
read,
think.
yes,
Like, you still get
yes,
this is, yeah, this is my vision. Fuck you if you don't like
it's
it.
very
That's
strong.
that I can relate to. Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
because from what I've read of her, she's like slapping you in the face while you're
Mm-hmm.
reading her stuff, which makes it brutal to read, honestly.
Mm.
From what I recall, I read a little bit of her stuff in high school
Uh,
on the recommendation of one of my
uh,
English teachers. Wasn't class
yeah.
reading, but he was like, if you should read these. Um, expand your worldview. And
Right. But I mean, to me, it's like there's individualism, but then the opposite, the extreme of individualism is literally not caring about other people or how you hurt them. And like that, I think is the part of what I've read about her, I
yeah,
suppose, that
extremism is
I
bad.
don't relate to. I can
Collective
relate to
extremism and
individualism,
individualistic
but yeah,
extremism are both bad.
right,
Where those both lead are very poor places to be.
right. But Anne Rice,
And
on the other
Rice
hand, Anne
likes
Rice,
sex and vampires,
Lord, does she like sex and vampires, and who
which who
doesn't?
doesn't? Yeah.
Right?
If you
But
if you don't, you're lying.
right, you're lying. You know you like sex and
You know you were
vampires.
Team Edward.
See, I was team um damn, what was his name? Jasper. Nobody
Oh
there
yeah,
was I
very
wasn't on
few.
anybody's team. I'm like, that guy's cool. Why doesn't she go out with him instead? And I like the werewolf better. But again, back to Anne Rice, who once insulted Stephanie Meyer
Brilliant.
inadvertently. Like, she was just like, I don't understand why, if you're writing about these immortal characters who can do anything with their life, why are they still in high school? She's like, why would that be what you do with your immortality? Why would you just keep going to high school?
Well, you could keep
And
learning.
yeah, true, but the same stuff over and over, like for,
No, I mean, keeping going. Yeah.
or you can be like 100 years old and hitting on 17-year-olds like
Oh
Edward.
yeah.
Like it's creepy, but she just said that not even thinking about ramifications, and all the Stephanie Meyer fans were not happy with her
Yeah.
for saying talking shit about the Twilight books. But she didn't really care. She's, all
She's
for people telling their own stories, their own ways.
as bad as they are.
Right, just she wouldn't write it that way, you know?
Yeah.
It's not her version of vampires, which is
Yeah, like if I
so
wrote
great.
Star Wars, it would not be for children.
Right, right.
Like if I wrote Star Wars, or if I directed it, or if I did any of that, people would be getting dismembered.
Uh-huh.
People would like it would
Which
be a
they
lot
do.
more. Yeah, it would be a lot more visually striking. Um, and yeah, but anyway, and
Right.
Rice.
Oh, right, Anne Rice. We were gonna talk about Anne. Like everyone on the road to Anne Rice. But like, there's a writer who I feel like impacted me a lot. Um, just because like she knocks down walls. Like she's the kind of writer who, again, going with the theme of storytellers who don't give a damn whether or not you agree with what they're saying, and she'll just say whatever she thinks. And she writes. You would on I've told you this before, you would love Anne Rice if you ever read that crap. You would
Yeah.
love The Witching Hour. But it's about a foot thick. But it's like it is so up your
Is it a
alley. And we've talked
series?
about that. It is. It's 3 books in the Lives of the Mayfair Witches series, but then it crosses over into the Vampire Chronicles where it
Mm.
continues. It continues and resolves in the Vampire Chronicles. Um, but it's 3 books and then that. So like it's good stuff. Uh, all the naughty stuff you would like is what I'm thinking of more than anything. But like so that's one of the things though. Like Anne Rice was a trailblazer in that regard. Like she wouldn't like her editors, she was trying to get Interview with the Vampire published. And they all wanted her to make the protagonist female, because it was a little
Gay.
bit too gay. Yeah. And they're like, these vampires are kind of gay. And
Which, let's be honest, if you live forever, tell me
yeah.
you ain't gonna try it.
Right.
Like,
Right.
you
And I mean
know,
they try it. The vampires try it all.
yep. I mean, there's a line in True Blood just like that. Like
Uh,
along those
oh no,
lines.
yeah,
Like
you're
they
right.
meet some gay
True.
vampires, and one of them like seduces another one. He's like, "I'm not gay." And he's like, "Honey, you've been alive for 1,000 years, and you're telling me you ain't never tried it?
Right.
You're gonna live forever. You might as well try it." And
Right.
then they fuck, and it was awesome.
Yeah, of course. Because I
And
mean, and
well, then he
like,
kills him too.
right. But
Stabs
I
him
can't.
in the back while hitting it doggy style with a stake, and he explodes. Like, dude, imagine that. I think he comes too.
Probably.
Like right as he stabs him in the back. He like because in that story, who wrote the True Blood
That's what I
series?
was trying to remember. I can't remember her name off the top of my head.
Yeah, I
Gosh
can't
darn
remember.
it. It's on the tip of my brain.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Gosh darn it, it's driving me crazy. I know her name.
uh,
Mm.
it's based on the Southern Vampire Mysteries
Come on,
by
brain. Why
yeah.
can't you think of I'm gonna kick myself
I'm just gonna have to go to the Wikipedia.
when you find it. Like,
Um,
gosh
uh,
darn it.
Charlene Harris,
Harris, yes.
C.
Okay.
Harris.
Yeah.
I don't know how to say her first name because it's Char like Charlene, but then
Uh-huh.
it's Laine. Is it
I think it's
Charlene?
Charlene. I think it's Charlene Harris. I
Um,
could be wrong.
yeah,
Um,
I'd love for
but there
a
would be
phonetic thing here.
no Charlene Harris without Anne Rice.
No, there wouldn't, and
Like
I'm pretty
all
sure
because
she said
she
that.
it has she because
I'm
yeah, she
pretty
picks
sure.
up on a lot of Anne Rice tropes and brings them into like she wrote a very original concept of the vampires. Harris did. It's not like
Yeah.
she was ripping Anne Rice off. There's just a lot of stuff in there that Anne Rice blazed that trail. Like all of the bisexuality,
Oh
you
yeah.
know?
All of the
Good
sexualities.
Lord. All the sexualities. And that's what
I
Anne
mean,
Rice
pretty
does,
much
man.
pretty much every what do you call them? Mythical creature in the True Blood franchise. Pretty much every one of them is almost a representative of some form of sexuality.
Right. No, you're right. It's true.
Because you've got vampires that are essentially just gays coming
Hmm.
out of the closet.
Right.
Because
It's
they even call it
very,
that. They call it coming out
they
of the
do.
coffin. They
Yeah.
call it coming out of the coffin when the vampires were basically made legal to
Yeah, it's
exist.
it's thinly veiled
And then
allegory to say the least.
you've got a character that's like Sam, who's just a
Uh-huh.
shapeshifter. He can shapeshift into
Right,
anything he
right,
wants.
right,
And he is still not known to the public
right.
and would still be very much pitchforks and torches if they found
Uh-huh.
out about him.
Yeah.
And so you can take that to mean whatever you want it to in the world of sexuality.
Right. Like
And yeah,
pansexual, bisexual,
transsexual.
transsexual, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Fluid.
fluid. Yeah, just fluid
Yeah.
would be probably the best. And then I mean, you've got what are they called? A maiden of God, who's the wine god in Greek
Bacchus.
mythology? Yeah. Um,
Bacchus.
yeah, they've got like a one of his maidens is the main
Or is that
antagonist in
Roman?
season two.
Hmm.
I think that's Roman.
Yeah, I think
Uh,
it's Roman, but it's the same.
it's the
No,
same guy.
Dionysus.
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 Yeah, Dionysus.
Dionysus. However you
Um,
say it.
yeah, however you say it. I'm pretty sure I've heard it said both ways. But
We'll call him Dio.
yeah, and she's essentially, just I mean, it's just all about orgies that season.
Yeah.
Like she keeps hypnotizing the whole town, and they're like you'll just like one of the characters will show up to this lady's backyard, her plantation house that she owns.
Uh-huh.
And they're all just fucking
Hmm.
in the backyard. And I'm like, man, Charlene Harris,
Right.
you
Dude, did I ever tell you about that one dream I had? And then I'll get back to Anne Rice, I swear. But
we gotta wrap this up too.
I know, because I can't stay up too much. Oh, damn, it's already later than I want it to be. But like, I had this dream, a lucid dream, and I was in this room with no doors, no windows, just bricks. And I was like, okay. And I was trying to stop myself from just taking control of the dream, which was what I had been doing in lucid dreams. I'm like, okay, now I'm going to force this and this to happen. And I'm going to fly over here. But I was like, no, I want to actually learn from my dreams while being aware that I'm dreaming. So I just sat down calmly in the middle of this room with
Construct,
yeah, this construct. And I just said to the dream, show me what you want me to see. And then a door appeared on the wall. And so I got up and I walked through the door. And there's a vampire orgy going on.
oh
There are
God.
vampires banging each other all over the place.
And
And like
what's
there's a stairwell and they're like, somebody up there wants to see you. And I'm like, all right. And so I'm walking up the stairs amidst all these
excuse
banging
me, excuse
vampires.
me,
Yeah,
pardon
yeah,
me, nice
pretty
cut.
much. And I'm like, this is what you wanted me to see?
And what's worse is knowing that every face you saw in there is somebody you've seen in real life.
Probably. I didn't think about that
I'm
because
pretty sure that I've like
I didn't
maybe it's
recognize
just
anybody.
well, no, because it could just be
But it
somebody
can be just
cast.
people, yeah, exactly.
Because
Like your
apparently, like
brain.
the brain can't construct human faces like that, so it just pulls
Right.
imagery. But it could probably be amalgamations of many
Yeah, it
facial
could be an
features.
amalgamation. But yeah, because
What
yeah,
was
there
at the
was a
top?
bit,
What was at the stairwell?
I don't remember.
Hmm.
Like, I think I might have woken up after that because I was just so bewildered. The
Yeah,
dream
understandable.
I didn't it's not what I was expecting. But yeah, anyway, but Anne Rice, so as a storyteller, again, another trailblazer, another person who just does what she wants to do. And fought the publishers similarly to the way that George Lucas fought Hollywood, except that she stayed with mainstream publishing her whole career. She just got so famous that
They couldn't stop her.
yeah, and she could tell the editors to fuck off.
Yeah, she could she
And
could
just
she
yeah,
could publish just a book binding of her used toilet paper, and they'd publish it.
pretty much. And it
Yeah,
would be fascinating, I have no doubt.
yeah,
But yeah,
like
but it was
tarot card
kind of
reading.
like her like yeah, her openness with sexuality and stuff, just like as a and vampires as a metaphor for lots of things um and the fact that no she stuck to her
Stuck.
stuck, that's how tired I am, she stuck to her guns about no, Louis is not a woman, and they tried to make a movie later and wanted to turn Louis into a woman and she wouldn't have it, but like that that opened my eyes to things. Like, because I would read Anne Rice novels and I'd be like, wouldn't it be great if this were real? Like, this is the world the way that I think it should be. Like, they sometimes they're with guys, sometimes they're with girls. It's whatever, man. They just love people. They just love each other, like different. Like, if only that were real, like, but it is. And she never came out, to my knowledge, as bisexual. But Anne Rice was bisexual. There's no way, the way that she wrote, um, that she wasn't at least like spiritually bisexual. But beyond that, like what she did in the page was bold and audacious, and F you to the censors and the editors, just telling her own tales courageously. Like I would call Anne Rice one of the most courageous storytellers I've ever learned from and grown from hearing their tales told or read or reading them myself, watching them in the movies. Um, but I like her politics too. Like she's courageous all around. Like I remember we were on a trip when we were in California, back in 2010. She like I was just sitting there going through the social medias while we were having some free time or whatever. And Anne Rice had posted something crazy on Facebook, crazy brilliant, that just made me respect her forever, even more. Where she just was like, I quit Christianity today. Today I quit being a Christian, and here's why. She's like, I refuse to be this, that. I refuse to be anti-humanist. I refuse to, like, just God. And I was like, oh, and she's like got a lot of Christian followers and stuff. Like, because Christianity plays into her writing. She grew up Catholic. Like, it's very much a theme in her work.
Yeah, any
But
former Christian can't escape their Christian background.
exactly, you have to process it.
Yeah.
And she processes Christianity and a Christian upbringing in her work. Um, but that, man, that just like, so not just as a storyteller, but as a human being. I admire Anne Rice so much. She will forever be one of my heroes. Um, because she didn't give a damn what the fallout from that just social media post was gonna be. Uh, just
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, no, I
Great.
was just reading apparently two things on Anne Rice and sexuality.
Uh-huh.
Number one, even though her husband is not gay, she based Lestat on him.
Yes, she did.
And then, according to a 2019 article, uh, she claims that she feels like she is gay.
Oh, I think
Uh,
she said something like she's a gay man trapped in a woman's body
yeah,
once.
she says that she's always felt like she's transcended gender.
That oh,
And
bisexual.
yeah, and
Okay.
so they
Or
have it.
fluid. That's cool.
Yeah, she's non-normative.
Yeah, definitely. And she boldly writes that perspective into
Yeah,
all of her work. And
perhaps
it's
not
so
bold
great.
enough.
Why do you say that?
Well, I mean, maybe we haven't even seen Unhinged Anne Rice.
Oh, we've seen
Un
Unhinged Anne Rice. It's
have
called
we?
The Claiming of Sleeping Beauty.
Mm.
Like, because she also, under a pseudonym, just wrote straight up porn.
Oh,
And I
awesome.
and it was chaotically bisexual. Like it just everybody's banging everybody. I couldn't finish I couldn't finish
Oh,
reading the
yeah,
trilogy.
yeah.
I should finish that
Please,
sentence.
yeah. You
I
should definitely
couldn't
finish that
finish.
sentence.
No, like it was
Uh,
a trilogy. She wrote a fourth one later in life, a few years before she passed away, in the erotic adventures of Sleeping Beauty. Lord, like the first one was just so much that even I could not read book two.
Yeah,
That's I got through
you'll
book
have
one and I'm like, I don't think I can do that. That
yeah,
was just
you'll have to get an audiobook
crazy. I don't know if I could listen to
to
it. I'm trying to
listen to it
our
on the car on your way to work.
God, like
Just be like,
The
and I
prince has all his
suckled her supple breast.
right.
Just- I don't know what her writing
Like
was
I
like.
hear there's something crazy with bees in one of those
Oh, good
books. I
Lord.
don't want to know. I remember like there's S&M crap in there. There's like the prince has all these like servants and they must always be naked and fully erect at all times. Like
That's what I demand from my friends.
yeah, so we have seen Unhinged Anne Rice and it's
That's fair.
probably brilliant, but I don't it was difficult to read. I should try it again though.
Maybe when you
You
retire,
know,
when you're like
later in
100,
life, when I'm 100, I'll read the erotic adventures of Sleeping Beauty.
be like, oh, still works.
Right. But yeah, so closing thoughts.
Um, yeah, I kind of like showed up a little early on closing thoughts with my whole bit on perspectives and
Yeah,
narratives and
no, I
stuff.
thought that was really good.
Because yeah, I mean that's what I would say here for closing thoughts is just like boy, am I grateful to all the storytellers out there, all the brave
Right.
people that push through adversity to
Hmm.
make their stories known and take their life experiences and, like you put eloquently, process their experience in
Hmm.
some form of narrative, be it music, screenplay, movies,
Hmm.
books, manga, comics, any of those mediums where a story can be told, which is one of the most fascinating things about storytelling is there are infinite mediums for storytelling. You can paint,
Right.
you can
Right.
draw, you can sing, you can write, you can act. Like
Hmm.
there are infinite ways, or you can just be at a party and listen to me ramble on about something that happened, and
Hmm.
that's a
Hmm.
story. And
Right.
everybody's got one. Um, Everybody has a story to tell.
Hmm.
No matter how uninteresting you may think your life
Oh
story
yeah.
is. Um, for one thing, all stories are embellished. That is
Hmm.
key to good storytelling is proper and proper embellishments, proper and believable embellishments are necessary for all stories outside of nonfiction.
Or at least like emphasis, like in a, there are parts that you tell in italics. Like you might not be
Yes.
making something up, but you might be telling something that actually happened, but you're emphasizing like I don't know, like hyperfixating on a detail that makes it stand
Yes.
out more.
Yes. And so I mean, I'm so grateful to all those people who make it their life's mission to tell a story,
Hmm.
um, so that I can consume it unhealthily
Right.
and achieve nirvana,
Hmm.
and do nothing with it aside from a podcast.
Right.
Uh,
Well, that's something. That's a thing. It's a thing.
I mean, I'd be killer in some bar trivia.
Right.
Um,
True story.
but yeah, no, I mean, those are my closing thoughts.
All right. All right. Like I guess for me, it's that um like you talked about how people, like everybody has a story, like everybody's more, I think it's kind of like everyone is a story. We're just these walking, talking stories because when we're constantly adding new chapters to ourselves. And I think that's why, like Dr. Northcutt said, humans are addicted to narrative because it's context for our existence, like we are the storytelling animal. I know I've said that on probably this podcast before. Um, I know I've said it on the internet before anyway, but where I live. But yeah, humans are the storytelling animals. No other animals tell stories the way that we do. It's like like what you were talking about, how you're just hanging out and talking to
Yeah,
people. Like you're telling stories. How was your day? Well, tell me, you're
it's how we
saying, please
connect to
tell
each
me a
other.
story. Like read me a chapter from your book. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's great. And it is how we connect to each other. And how do our stories differ? How are our stories similar? How do our stories connect? Like, as when we're having a conversation, we're doing a crossover between
Yeah,
two stories with two protagonists.
Schrodinger's cat.
Everyone is a protagonist. And that's why we find stories, we like stories that we can relate to because we can see ourselves as that protagonist because we are protagonists. Everyone is.
Yes,
And like, I don't know. I mean, storytelling is important because we just learn and grow through storytelling. Like if you can break so many different things, like what you were saying, like all those different forms of storytelling. That is the fundamental thing that the human animal does is it
yes,
finds new ways to tell stories and to take stories in. Like I think it's fantastic and so that's why I so greatly admire so many storytellers and why I'm a professional storyteller myself now. You know, it's just to quote the great Matthew Paul, I like stories.
I like stories.
I like stories too.
I like
They're
my
good.
stories.
Right. But I mean, that's it for my closing thoughts.
Yeah, so we
Um,
just did Storytellers.
yeah, we did storytellers.
And uh and this is the short version
Right, for real.
because I've got a few more on here, and these are all just things
No
I thought
doubt.
about while we've been rambling.
Right, no doubt.
If I actually prepared for this, I'd have to like get a dartboard and just
Yeah.
like
Oh,
pick
same.
some
That's why I didn't
because
prepare at all,
yeah,
honestly.
no,
We
no, that's
just
why
turned on
yeah, we just
the
turn on and let's
cameras and went.
go.
We
Yeah,
have a
that's
topic. That's as far as either of us prepared for this one.
yep. And we've watched a lot of stories or consumed a lot of narratives.
That we have. That we have.
Collectively, probably more than the average single person.
Right.
Or each one of us probably more than the average single person.
Right.
But that's not to
Right.
say, not
Yeah,
everybody,
you know,
everybody loves narratives.
they do. And if you would permit me a plug,
Yes.
if you'd like to check
Plug
out
away.
my stories, my novels, my short fiction, and such, you can go to my author website, glennslade.clarkjr.com. Stalk me as you will. I have many stories to tell. Okay, thank you. That has been my plug.
Yes.
This video is sponsored by me.
Yeah.
And
And
oh, next week or next month for our very special Easter episode,
oh yeah.
we're tackling the topic of is God necessary?
Got it. And so I got a month to figure out what sort of headspace I was in when I came up with that topic. Oh
Right?
no, I remember. I already got it. I already got it.
Okay,
I need to
okay,
write that
good.
down.
Yeah, write it down because
Uh,
that was your topic.
yeah, no, I got it. I got it. Um, yeah, no, I'll make a voice. I've been making voice memos. That's how busy I
Interesting.
am,
Oh
or
wow.
how busy I like to see myself anyway. I
Uh-huh.
don't even write anymore. I just be like, uh, March 7th, 2025. Here's a thought for this, and I'm that kind of crazy now.
Cool. That's
Yeah,
good. I like that.
yeah. I've
Um,
got like Autodidactica stuff here,
Sweet.
like just on my voice memos. I've got a folder
Nice.
now
Oh, that'll
because
be
like
nice when we do a
because
season
it
three brainstorming meeting.
no, then that's my thoughts completely
So,
is
so
because
it'll
it's
be
much
like, so
easier than just a write down is God necessary. Then I got to remember what kind of effing headspace I was
right,
in when I came
right.
up with that, and like
Yeah, and
it's
listen to the
much easier
playback.
for
You might even be surprised at your own genius.
yes,
That's
exactly.
always fun. It's like, oh, that's cool. I didn't remember saying that, but I agree.
Yeah, no, it's much easier to get the context of
Yeah,
the topic. But yeah, so tune in for is God necessary?
right, right. Perhaps we'll find out.
Yeah, if we're still here.
Right, if we haven't been smoked.
Yeah,
But yeah. All right. So that's Autodidactica for this month.
we didn't introduce
And
ourselves. I'm Matt
we
Paul.
didn't, and I'm Glenn Clark.
Uh,
And we're done. We're done
go
here.
read a story.
Yeah, go read a story, go tell a story.
Go tell a story.
Heck
Tell it to
yeah.
me.
Tell it to me too. Were we fighting for who gets the last line? Because no,
I
I'm
don't know.
kidding.
Email us a
It's
story.
funny.
Email us
Email
your
us a
story.
story. Yeah, yeah. Or send us a story psychically in our dreams.
Oh, please don't. I get enough of those.
If they
All
start
right.
sending us both just vampire orgy dreams.
Oh, dude, I would appreciate some vampire orgy material. Anyway,
Right? Hey,
cut.
read Anne Rice. Oh, all right. Okay, so we gotta go. All right. We will see you
Yeah.
next time.
Good
Goodbye.
night.